You're very welcome along to the football show here and Off the Ball. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. Now, John Duggan with you this Saturday and every Saturday in the company of Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan in studio. In the Republic of Ireland, former international Damien Delaney on Skype, of course, a Premier League player with Aston. What am I talking about? I'm thinking of the Claret. I'm thinking Crystal Palace, of course, Crystal Palace. We're streaming live. I'm so shocked. Damien, I'm so shocked. There's Jim Gavin news today that I'm associating you with different clubs and all this kind of thing. Did you see any of the Man City game?
I didn't, sorry, no, but today to rejoice, Jim Gavin stepped down, so I'm sure I'll be very, very happy.
we're all stunned here. There's Galway fellas here. Where are you from?
Leash.
I'm the only dub in the room here, and I'm kind of thinking about the fact that we're not going to be winning the All Ireland now next year. Just on Unai Emery, Damien, yesterday, what did you make of all this at Arsenal? It was probably coming, but still, it's a bit of a messy situation for them. They go to Norwich tomorrow.
Yeah, it's easy to say that, Arsenal aren't a sacking club because Arsene Wenger was there for so long, and I genuinely thought they'd give him more. So there's obviously a lot going on behind the scenes there with some senior players, and the crowd on Thursday night was abysmally low. I know it said that there was 60,000 on there. There clearly wasn't. And I think once the crowd start dropping off and senior players start complaining, they're almost, the ownership or the board are left in a tough spot there. They have to sack him.
Is the problem with Arsenal a club I've always admired, Damien, as old school, a club that hasn't been relegated since 1913 when they were called Woolwich Arsenal, now a club owned by the Cronkies, who hold multiple sporting interests, especially in the United States. They seem dispassionate to me, the owners. Maybe I'm doing them an injustice. But is this not just another McDonald's for the Cronkies?
No, I don't think it is. I think, unfortunately, Liverpool and definitely Manchester City and some of the top clubs in Europe have moved along now, and they're state-backed clubs. When you look at some of the clubs, they're owned by Middle Eastern countries with huge oil reserves. And unfortunately, your bog standard multi-millionaire or even billionaire can't compete with that. And I think Liverpool have invested very, very wisely because they wouldn't have had the same budget as Manchester City. Man United have invested abysmally, hence the reason they have funded, but they haven't funded correctly. And that's why they're left with the squad that you saw on Thursday night. And Arsenal a little bit guilty of both, and they can't be. They haven't funded adequately to keep pace with the other teams, and when they have funded, they've funded poorly. So that's where they are. The fans, Arsenal fans, are, they're almost laughable at this stage. They're like kids who've lost their ice cream. They used to be the top boys in the country. They used to be the kings of London, and they're not anymore. And the fans can't seem to get their head around that. They don't want to accept that. They're finding it very, very difficult. There's not harmony there when it comes to between the fans, the owners and the club. And for any club to be successful, you are going to need a certain level of harmony between those three groups. And Arsenal, unfortunately, at the minute, are rudderless.
When I'm looking at Arsenal Fan TV, lads, I think it's great entertainment, but I'm not
just going to say, what are you doing looking at that?
I don't know when I'm seeing it. I'm not watching it. But is it great though for Arsenal Football Club to have such a disconnect between the fans and the club? And I'm looking at whoever the new man comes in. You've got Raul Sanllehi and Edu in there. They got the guy who came from Barcelona, Sanllehi. Who was in the management there, and you've got Edu as a technical director. Is the new man going to be able to work with these guys? Will he want his own people? Is this more of a structural issue at Arsenal, that it wasn't Unai Emery's fault and he was never going to work out after Wenger?
I think whoever the new man is going to be, he's going to have an absolutely colossal job on his hands, John, because, you look at the two big underperforming sides so far this year had been Arsenal and Spurs. But I think there's a massive difference in the two clubs in that I think you look at Spurs 1 to 11 on their bench, and it looks like a team of very, very good players who are underperforming. I think you do the same with Arsenal. You go through that starting 11 from Arsenal against Frankfurt the other night. You go through that team, and you're looking at a team of players who you're saying, well, I'm not surprised they are where they are. They look like they're probably of that standard. They don't look anything next nor near Champions League quality players. They really, really don't. And I think they've got a huge job to get themselves back to where they were. A colossal job to get themselves back to where they were.
I think, as Damien says, they've really bought poorly, particularly defensively. You look at the likes of David Luiz, where you probably should be taking a chance on a good young up and coming defender. Defensively, they're very, very poor. They don't look to have I think this is like a hang-up from the Wenger days. They don't seem to have any actual inner belief in that team and no steel. And as Shane says, whoever gets the job, as much as Arsenal's still very attractive for players to sign, it's a London club in a great stadium. There's an awful lot of work to do, and at the moment, top four looks beyond them.
Can I make a point there about David Luiz, right? Frank Lampard got the job at Chelsea, and Frank Lampard shared a changing room for a number of years with David Luiz, and he couldn't get him out the door quick enough. So while he was his teammate, he obviously worked with him, but he realised that David Luiz, I'm guessing here by the way, wasn't the type of character he wanted in his changing room, because when the going gets tough, he might understand that the kid's a bit emotional, which he definitely is. He's a bit moany probably, and he has the potential to be a rotten egg. So Frank Lampard would have seen that at close quarters, and that's why he got out so quick.
We're seeing as well with Lampard, Damien, that he's like not afraid to lay down the law. I know the fines, that probably happens in every club, but also like he's reprimanded publicly Ross Barkley for his antics in recent times. Just on Freddie Ljungberg, Damien, he's going to take Arsenal to Norwich tomorrow. He's the one performing triage now on this Gunners squad. What needs to happen immediately to get them back in some kind of...
Listen, it's a nothing appointment, really. You know, he has no real managerial experience. He's a club legend. It looks like it's more to appease the fans, really, to calm them down, because there is such a disconnect there. Hopefully, someone like Freddie Ljungberg, being a club legend, will get them some way on side or by the board a little bit of patience. But their next appointment is huge, and whoever it is needs to buy into where the club are going, what they want, what the director of football wants, and needs to get the fans back on side. Otherwise, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that personally. I think Arsenal are now a second-tier Premier League club. I think they're kind of between 4th and 8th is where they're going to finish. In a good season, they might finish 5th. On an unbelievable season, they might finish 4th. But I think they've dropped off, and the others are too far gone now.
Like Damien's point there, like there must be an awful lot of stupid people in football who are running football at a very high level.
There is.
Where are they getting lumber from? Short of using them to model lingerie, like where's his experience to even be there in a temporary capacity? And Shane was asking me to look at the betting for who the new manager is. Eddie Howe is like what? 25-1.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't Eddie Howe or Rafa Benitez? Like, Rafa Benitez, granted, he might be committed to his job in China. Rafa Benitez is a world-class manager who probably isn't even in the running. Eddie Howe, the longest-serving manager in the league, who's, punched way above his weight at Bournemouth, doesn't seem to be in the running. And they've brought in Lundberg for no other reason than that he played for the club, which to me is entirely irrelevant.
Lundberg is fine if he's only a stopgap, but how long is Lundberg going to go on? Damien, who do you want in there? If you were an Arsenal fan, who do you think is the best candidate that's kind of in the loop at the moment?
Lundberg is second favourite to get the job permanently, incidentally. He's only like a 4-1 shot, so they must think he does have a chance if he does well.
That's absolutely insane to think that he would give the job. It's almost as bad as Manchester United giving Solskjaer the job. It's all the same. Yeah. Exactly. It's almost as bad. But at least Solskjaer got relegated with Cardiff. I mean, realistically, that was the level of his experience, and then he gets the Manchester United job. Fans are have an affinity and affection, or have a certain feeling for these types of players because it makes them hark back to times when they were successful. So fans want them in, and because they were leaders on the pitch, because they were fantastic players, they automatically think these guys are going to be managers. They're not. It's not been proven at all that template works, and it won't work. So Lundberg won't get a job. I'd be highly surprised. I think Arsenal need to rebuild the club from the ground up. They really do. They need to have a plan, and a 5-year plan at that, and edge their way back there, because they're not going to spend the money. They're not going to spend 250 million quid. They need to accept where they are, and the fans need to accept where they are first and foremost, and then just start building and try and be better.
The Cronkies have the money.
This is it, and it's just mad how, when you look at the table and the unfashionable clubs that are ahead of the likes of Spurs, Arsenal, Man United at the moment, it's just strange times in football, but it's still a really attractive job if the right person could come in, be given time to say, basically, this is a 4 or 5 year project. We have to bring young players through. We've a great stadium, we've great history, we still have a huge fan base globally as well, but it's a long time since they've actually won anything now.
Well, Arsenal are too big of a club for somebody to come in and be handed a 4 or 5 year tenure where they have to bring young players through. I mean, it's not going to work like that. As we know, it worked out brilliantly for Chelsea, really, this whole transfer ban. And I mean, going back to what Damien said earlier, I mean, like, not to completely go on about David Luiz, but I mean that just really damns the verdict on David Luiz all the more. That Frank Lampard knew he couldn't even sign a replacement for him and still couldn't hunt him out the door quick enough. But I think Arsenal, I think they need to go with some really, really experienced players really, really quickly. I think they need a change in management style, and I think that's why it makes sense to me that Max Allegri is the favourite, because I would imagine Arsenal fans are thinking, what are we missing? What are we not doing right? What do we need to get better at? Bang, Max Allegri is the kind of guy who can fix all that.
Here's a question on that. Will he be able to connect? Because Emery's issue, what I'm reading and what I'm looking at, is that he couldn't connect with the Arsenal players. There was confusion around tactics. Xhaka appointed as captain possibly wasn't the best move, and then that didn't work out. Obviously, he fed out with Ozil. There didn't seem to be, and it got to the stage where, you know, he was getting kind of slagged off at the training ground and that kind of thing.
He didn't seem to be ruthless enough, John.
Yeah, like, he didn't seem to have enough of assertiveness.
Yeah, exactly.
To say, okay, this is the way it's going to be in terms of how we're playing. And even Pepe, who was the big signing, wasn't playing the last few games.
Like, to make Xhaka captain is questionable in itself. Ozil should be gone in my view. He's a bad egg. He's the type of guy that when the going gets tough, he's gone. I would definitely, if I were the new manager, I'd make a statement of intent. And
you do know Damien had him in his team of the decade during the week, do you?
I didn't know that, actually. Unbelievably talented player, but as flaky as they come. So that's... But it became quite obvious. It was actually sad to watch. We were here the other night. I was here with Richie when they were playing in the Europa League, and as the game went on, it was like we are looking at the slow death of a manager here, and it wasn't a surprise. And you could see that the crowd had completely turned as well during the week. So his future is going to be interesting as well.
Do you know what was a really interesting insight? You said there, Johnny, that he made Xhaka captain. He didn't. The players had a vote, right, and the players picked the captain, which in itself is insane.
Absolutely.
That a Premier League manager does something that you would expect to see at an under-12s game in a local park, just to give some young fella some responsibility, or to try and educate him on leadership.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see John Caulfield doing it.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, at that level of football, right, the amount of characters and personalities that must be in an Arsenal changing room, the strongest personality will always come through. The biggest character, the best leader will naturally come to the fore. So why do the players need to have a vote? It was insane. I couldn't.
Damien, do they need a disciplinarian then?
I just think they need a manager that comes in and said, okay, here's what I want. I'm going to be this way. I'm going to pick a captain that believes and backs me in what I do. And my captain is going to enforce everything that I want because we're on the same page together. That's the role of a captain. You don't just let the players pick it. I mean, if Arsenal have such poor characters of what they're saying, they're just going to pick the nicest fella ever because the players can do what they want. There'll be no discipline. The lads can just crack on.
The only thing I'd say, Damien, is who in the Arsenal dressing room is a captain at the moment?
I don't know. I don't know any of them personally. I've not been in the changing room with any of them. I mean, looking at them on the pitch, there doesn't seem to be any real leaders. But at the same point, there might be some strong characters. There might be some really big personalities there. But if there's not enough, then, or the wrong personalities take over changing room, it can be over, you know.
You compare that to Liverpool as well, Damien. Like, you look at the players they have in that team. When even the other night against Napoli, when the game is kind of not going their way, the strength and resolve that they have. I suppose particularly the two English midfielders, Milner and Henderson, and there's actually, you could say there are 3 or 4 captains readily for Liverpool. You'd have no problem giving them.
Absolutely.
But Arsenal, whatever, like Shane will recognise this as well, and probably would admit he's gotten it wrong from time to time. One of the most important things when you're signing a player is to character vet him and to know what sort of character he is. And I'd say the character vetting.
Or in any industry or any business.
Industry. So if you want somebody on your team, I mean, you can imagine if you see what Stephen O'Donnell has done at Pats, where he's more or less got rid of 10 players straight away. If a Stephen O'Donnell type character goes into Arsenal, you'd imagine there'd be an absolute purge of about 5 or 6 of those main players, because the dressing room is obviously not quite right. We
got an update from Anfield. Liverpool against Brighton with Shane Pennington.
It's Liverpool 0, Brighton 0, but the visitors made an encouraging start here as they look for their first away win since the opening day of the season. Already Aaron Moy down this right-hand side has caused Liverpool a few problems. At the other end, though, it's Liverpool have had the half chances. Robertson's 25-yard shot just over, and also Mo Salah cutting in from the right to see a shot go into the side netting. It's Liverpool 0, Brighton 0.
Also got an update from the New Hart Lane. Spurs against Bournemouth. Guy Swindles.
Spurs 0, Bournemouth 0, but Bournemouth have had the chances early on in this match. Danjuma Grunfeld forcing the first of 2 fine saves from Paulo's Gazzaniga, Rico with the second one, and Callum Wilson headed over when well placed after good work from Solanke and Stacey. For Spurs, Kane's had a slight look in, but a good tackle by Cook snuffed that out. Spurs 0, Bournemouth 0.
Now, 53106 for your text. I was on Twitter asking Arsenal fans earlier what they thought of this whole situation with Emery sacking Lundberg coming in as an interim head coach and who they want as the permanent replacement. Orla says players have got a lot to answer for. No silver bullet for Arsenal. Expectations and reality very far apart. Poch won't go near it. Allegri might. He surely shore up the carnage of so many goals. Next manager needs Premier League experience to secure a Champions League position. Ryan Plunkett, I've wanted Ancelotti for about 8 years now, but I wonder if he's past his best. They need a coach who'll pick a formation, stick to it. I prefer four at the back, which is what the top teams are playing. Colm Donnellan has to be Poch, missing a bit of steel in the centre midfield. More games for Torreira, less for Xhaka. Whoever comes in has to convince Lacazette and Aubameyang to stay. And the Galway Gooner, not Johnny Ward. For me, Allegri, our Achilles heel, has been defending for far too long. I know he's had issues with language and is apparently learning, but if he gets his ideas across and the players understand that's the job half done, I'd take going back to 1-0 wins all day long.
And Ancelotti, whether he's passed or not, like I'm kind of half-based this in 2 games, but the 2 games Liverpool have played against Napoli this season, Napoli have been so well set up defensively, and if he came in, I'd say the first thing he would do is he would shore up that aspect of them. Yeah,
the only thing I'd say there is I've read both Ancelotti books. I'm a massive Ancelotti fan. He would be the first to hold his hand up that he's absolutely not a disciplinarian style manager.
He wasn't at Chelsea. He was at John Terry. Was very powerful.
He isn't anywhere he goes. He's very much a man of the players, and I think, to be honest with you, I don't think that's what they need right now. I think he's a fantastic manager, but I don't think he's a good fit for that job. I mean, I was reading some of the comments that came in under when you put out that tweet yesterday, asking for people's opinions on the change, and I mean, you had to laugh. There was so many Arsenal supporters saying, well, at least we've only sacked him after Mourinho's gone off the market. I'd argue Mourinho could be exactly what they could have done with really. They need somebody to come in who has complete self-confidence in themselves, complete kind of authoritarian, and it's my way or the highway, and I actually think he would have been a good fit for them.
There's probably every chance he could have been in the running, bar what happened the last couple of weeks, but one of the many leaders I spoke about at Liverpool is leading the way, as it'll transpire very shortly, and this is going to be a big day in the Premier League, I think.
Do you think the top manager would take that Arsenal job? Are they still a top club where they're...
would Brendan Rodgers take it now? Would you really take it?
Not now. No, why would you leave Leicester? You know, like Leicester, and I think Rodgers has probably a bit of loyalty in him as well, where he knows he's onto a good thing at Leicester. That Arsenal thing is not an overnight job.
Goal at Anfield, Shane Pennington.
It's Liverpool 1, Brighton 0, and Virgil van Dijk has put the leaders in front here. It came from a free kick from the right-hand side. Trent Alexander-Arnold whipped it in right-footed towards the penalty spot, and there was Van Dijk to loop a header beyond Matt Ryan. It's Liverpool 1, Brighton 0.
It's going to be a tough day for Aaron Connolly because he's obviously been injured. He's put straight up front on his own. Now they're 1-0 down. So this is like one of these days that if he could nick a goal, it could be something amazing. But up top on his own against Liverpool.
Well, John Giles was on Off the Ball this week with Richie McCormack, where he feels Kevin De Bruyne has been acting like a spoilt brat under Pep Guardiola and should consider getting rid of the Belgian midfielder.
I was very disappointed with them the other night. I mean, one of the great things they had when they didn't have the ball was to really hound the opposition down and get the ball back. They didn't do that. They were very lackadaisical, and obviously they're losing 50%. If they don't do what they used to do, which is hounding the opposition, they're down 50% in their performance. And I think one of the big problems he has there is De Bruyne. De Bruyne hasn't done his stuff for the last 18 months, Richie, and I was amazed. I thought he had a nightmare the other night. He's temperamental. He's not doing his stuff, and people keep talking about him that I see in the game of the player he was 2 years ago. He's not the player he was 2 years ago. He's temperamental. He's throwing his arms up. He's not doing his stuff. And I think Pep will have to get rid of him. And he was a huge player for him when he was at his best, there's no doubt. But he's certainly not at his best now, Richie, and he should be out of the team, or else he will ruin them totally. But they're not the team they were a year back, or even last year, where they did remarkably well. He seems to be distracted. If he gives a bad ball, he's blaming his fellow players on it. He's just not doing his stuff, Richie. Yeah. And that's a bad influence. He was one of the main players, and he should be one of the main players. Now, I think Pep has got to get him out.
No, I think John Giles is an absolute football legend, one of the greatest football men we've ever had in this country.
This doesn't sound good.
I respectfully disagree with John's pronouncements on Kevin De Bruyne, as the Flemish lady calls him. Johnny, you saw him today. Like I'm looking at the stats here. Last season, for example, he started only 19 games in the Premier League. A lot of injuries. He scored last week. He scored an absolute screamer today. He laid on 9 assists in the first 10 games. Kevin De Bruyne, as I call him, is not the reason why Manchester City are struggling in the league right now. It's their defence.
No, it's their defence. It's actually more than their defence. It's the way they're playing in general, in terms of when they don't have the ball. Their pressing game has absolutely fallen apart for whatever reason. I don't know if the players have just gotten tired or there's a change in philosophy. De Bruyne's goal today, if you haven't seen it, if you're thinking of going for a pint tonight, don't go out, stay in and watch Match of the Day alone for that goal. It was absolutely outstanding. He's not the problem at Man City. I think they've been poor this season. I think, as I said, the likes of Silva, David Silva is definitely regressed markedly. They're missing Laporte at the back. Defensively, to me, they look like a team that if they're playing any sort of decent team, you'll definitely fancy your chance of scoring against them. The fact that they led twice today against a fairly okay, like it's an okay Newcastle team that probably will stay up. The fact that they blew 2 leads in a game in which, being honest, they didn't actually create that many chances. I mean, it was like they got the first goal out of kind of nothing. Newcastle equalised without really breaking a sweat. Newcastle played defensively, but there was no... to me, and I might be wrong with this, I think Guardiola just might have lost his spark there. I think that magic just seems to be gone, and their chance of winning the league, to me, is completely gone at this stage.
Goal at the new White Hart Lane. Tottenham against Bournemouth with Guy Swindles.
Spurs 1, Bournemouth 0, and Spurs use route 1 to go ahead. Ball played long out from the back from Alderweireld. Brilliant first time touch from Son into the path of Dele Alli, who simply couldn't miss. Beautiful finish, very simple move. Spurs 1, Bournemouth 0.
For those who follow Johnny on Twitter, which is of course half the population of the country, he recommended during the week to back Spurs to finish second.
I saw this. I didn't get involved in it.
I texted him at the time and told him that he needed his head checked, but he's already smiling like a Cheshire cat here at me, given what happened City earlier on today, and Spurs off to a good start. But as he says, he's no faith in City, and they need to get back together.
My dad said to me during the week, John, he said, I genuinely believe Leicester are the main threat to Man City, and the more I thought about it, he may not be far off at all.
Damien, Manchester City looking like they could be 11 points behind Liverpool. Is the title race over?
Yeah, I think so. I think for Manchester City to catch Liverpool, they have to go on one of their mad 15, 16 game wins. I don't think they're capable of that. I think all Liverpool have to do between now and the end of the season is match Manchester City's results, and I think they will quite comfortably do that. So all things being equal, barring an absolute, Van Dijk, Salah, Firmino and Mane all going down injured, I would probably say that the title is all but wrapped up. Just to go back to your John Giles point there, lads, I mean, I couldn't agree with that in any way, shape or form. I mean, if that's the standard he's setting, that De Bruyne has had a slight drop off from a couple of years ago, then I think he's the last. Everyone else goes before him, because Manchester City problems are blatantly obvious, and the fact of the matter is they're missing Fernandinho in the middle of the park because he has to play at centre back, because they've lost their midfield general. They haven't replaced him with Rodri. They haven't managed to find anyone that can win the ball back or protect the back four as well as what he can. And on top of that, he's now playing at centre back, which isn't his position, and he's playing there with John Stones or Otamendi. That's Manchester City's problems. Manchester City and Pep Guardiola know that. So I can't agree with John Giles there at all.
It's strange as well, because Liverpool aren't actually playing that well this season. If you look at, there's probably no outstanding team in Europe at the moment. Liverpool have played Napoli twice in the Champions League, when they've had more or less their best team out on both occasions. They scored 1 goal in those 2 games, and I think Napoli hadn't won in 7 going into the game. Napoli are by no means an outstanding team. But when it's been put up to Liverpool by Napoli, Liverpool have been made to look fairly ordinary at times. But the irony is, just this season, Man City are absolutely miles off. And I know the putting up Spurs finishing the top 2 might sound a bit fanciful, but I watched Spurs the other night in Europe, and their defence was poor. And I'm 100% certain Mourinho will sort them out defensively, because if he can get Eriksen playing, there's so much more they can do.
Sorry to interrupt you, Johnny. Shane Pennington.
It's Liverpool 2, Brighton 0, and it's a carbon copy of the first goal, really. A corner from this left-hand side from Alexander-Arnold, whipped in, and there 6 yards out was Virgil van Dijk for his second of the afternoon. It's Liverpool 2, Brighton 0.
Yeah,
I mean,
VVD.
That City, I mean, just on City before you jump on Liverpool again, I mean, that's the City game today is an absolute snapshot of their season, really. I mean,
Newcastle.
They've drawn 2-2 with Newcastle, And from just checking on it there, Kevin De Bruyne finished the game with a season-high 6 chances created. No Premier League player has created more than 6 goal-scoring chances in a game. So he's literally done everything possible to help his team win, and yet they've come off without 3 points again because of defensive inadequacies.
Do you look at them, Damien, and think, like you've been in dressing rooms, do you look at them and think there's some sort of malaise there? Because I know you mentioned Fernandinho and they've problems kind of positional-wise, but if you're looking at body language of players, like City at no stage today were convincing at all that you actually were sure they'd win the game.
I think, looking at them at the minute, they look like a team that have been very, very successful and have just gone flat a little bit. They've just lost that razor-sharp edge that they had. Liverpool are the hunters. They're hungry. And Manchester City at the minute look like a team that are full and they're quite happy. When that happens, and Pep Guardiola knows this more than anyone, you need to ship out 2 or 3. Alex Ferguson did it a lot. Where he absolutely, would 1 year always would sacrifice one big player to let everyone know no one gets comfortable here, no one rests on their laurels, we keep barreling forward. And I think Pep Guardiola is looking to do that. Whether financially he'll be able to with the financial fair play stuff and the scrutiny they're under will be very, very difficult. But I think that they need to bring in 2 or 3 big name players and cull 2 or 3 big name players as well.
And the Champions League is so open, John, as well,
Yeah, OK, well, sorry to interrupt there, Johnny. Screwfix's biggest ever Black Friday event is now on from Monday, the 2nd of December, on from now until Monday, the 2nd of December. They've loads of deals, which including the saving of over €10 on the DeWalt Axel safety boots, now €56.95. To celebrate, we're giving away a €300 Screwfix voucher. To be with a chance of winning, just tell us who the Scouse is. Complimenting our 3 guests on the football show, Damien, Delaney, Shane Keegan and Johnny Ward.
3 top men in football.
Text your name and your answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce the winner later in the show. All thanks to Screwfix, their biggest ever Black Friday event. Order online at screwfix.ie. Off the ball Saturday on News Talk with John Duggan. Have you heard the news today? Jim Gavin is stepping down as manager of the Dublin senior footballers after 7 years. 5 in a row back in September. A new broom going into the Dubs. Joe Brawley is next on Off the Ball. 53106.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
On Alive and Kicking this weekend. Can saving the planet make it onto your Christmas list? I visit the Conscious Christmas store in Dublin. And Sinead Gleeson won the On Post Book Award in the Best Non-Fiction category for her book Constellations. She'll join me to talk about what chapters of ill health have taught her and why we should always have appreciation for our bodies.
Alive and Kicking with Claire McKenna.
Thanks to ReproMed. This Sunday from 9 a.m.
on News Talk.
Have a great afternoon with Harvey Norman. With the best Black Friday sale deals right now on sofas, dining furniture, beds and mattresses. Deals competitors just can't beat.
At Lexus, we have always anticipated the future, relentlessly pushing the boundaries of beautiful design and innovative technology, so you're ready for what's ahead. Introducing the new Lexus ES. Our executive saloon combines powerful, self-charging hybrid technology with an exceptional driving experience and the luxury that you expect from a Lexus. Test drive the new ES at your Lexus retailer and choose from a range of flexible payment options. Lexus. Experience amazing.
At Heineken, we like to think that life should be all for one and one for all. So if your team's had one of those games, why not meet the squad and relive it one last time? And whether you've lost or won, at the end of the night there's always room for one more tune. But if you're thinking about drinking and driving, then even one is one too many. After all, you only live once. Heineken. When you drive, never drink. Get the facts, be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Working on different projects.
Seeing my business grow.
Meeting new customers. Being your own boss can be great. We're here when it's not. If you're self-employed and become unemployed, you can now qualify for Job Seekers Benefit, which is good news if you need it. For more information, visit www.welfare.ie/self-employed. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection.
What do you really want for Christmas? How about a brand new Nissan Qashqai? It could be yours, thanks to Dundeal's Christmas car giveaway. Simply search dundeal.ie for the new 2019 Nissan Qashqai with the gold Dundeal badge. Then make an inquiry on the car to enter the free draw to drive it home for Christmas. Dundeal. It's Ireland's largest car showroom in the palm of your hand.
Heard the news? Aer Lingus's Black Friday deals are back, so it's time to act fast. And because we're taking €100 off return flights to North America, you can take off to an amazing Seattle city break, to Miami's brilliant beaches, or to the stunning West Coast sights of San Francisco. Just book by midnight Tuesday, December 3rd. Smart saves €100 for Black Friday. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at aerlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
This Christmas, temperatures are expected to plummet in Lebanon, where thousands of Syrian refugees are living in makeshift shelters with little protection against the cold. You can help provide life-saving winter survival kits containing blankets and mattresses to keep vulnerable families safe and warm. Visit concern.net to give what you can today. Thank you.
All you need this Christmas is carry-out off-licence. Make your money go further with our incredible deals on box beers, multi-pack cans and wines from all over the world. Plus our amazing Eastern European selection, such as the fantastic Perla beer range, now in stock. Fill your cupboard for less this festive season. Carry out off-licence. Simply better wines and beers. Simply better value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
One car has been there throughout your life. You sat in and you were ready. It gave you your first taste of freedom. It took you on your first road trip. It dropped you off at your first job. You even had your first kiss in it. It was your first love. It was your first Opel Corsa. The German car that was a big part of your life. And it still is. It's time to fall in love all over again with the brand new Opel Corsa. With low emissions, a sleek new look, that German safety standard. It's a whole new Corsa for a whole new decade. Discover the new Opel Corsa at your local Opel dealer event, November 29th to December 1st. Register your interest now at opel.ie.
This is the story of our changing planet.
Emmy award-winning series Our Planet live in concert. Narrated on screen by David Attenborough. Hosted by Academy Award-winning composer Stephen Price. A multimedia spectacular featuring a live orchestra and cutting-edge visual effects. Join the adventure at 3 Arena on Friday the 16th of October. Tickets from €67 on sale now. Additional charges may apply.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Now, you're very welcome back to the football show and Off the Ball here this Saturday afternoon. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. John Duggan with you this Saturday and every Saturday in the company this afternoon of Damien Delaney, the former Republic of Ireland international, Crystal Palace Premier League player, Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan. Just to mention, we're heading west for the latest Off the Ball roadshow in association with Heineken Rugby Club. On Wednesday, the 11th of December, we're going to be in the Galmont Hotel in Galway with Connacht's Andy Friend, Tiernan O'Halloran and Galway's favourite son, Cyril Farrell too. We'll be announcing some more big names over the next few days, but you can get your tickets right now at offtheball.com/events. It's all with thanks to Heineken Rugby Club. Visit drinkaware.ie and remember, this is an over-18s gig. Now, the big news today in Irish sport is that Jim Gavin, after 7 years and leading the Dubs to 5 in a row in September, has stepped down as manager of the Dublin senior football team. Delighted to be joined on the line here in Off the Ball by the former All-Ireland winner with Derry, broadcaster and writer Joe Brawley. Joe, good afternoon.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thanks, Joe. Did it come as a shock to you, Jim Gavin stepping down?
I don't think so. I mean, I think he's 48, 49. The 5 in a row has been accomplished. You know, he has a very busy life outside of Gaelic football, you know, and a life of, you know, he's got a new job in Brussels. And, I mean, what does 6 in a row mean? And I think it's probably the right time for him. And, you know, I'd say he's got a huge amount of interest outside of the game. You know, he's a communitarian, he's an altruist. He's interested in all sorts of charitable projects. So, I mean, I have no doubt that he'll continue in that quiet way of his to make a very significant contribution.
Joe, when we're looking at the annals of managers and when we're ranking everybody, maybe that's something you don't like to do, but I would consider him the greatest Gaelic manager of all time. Is he the greatest of all time? Is that his legacy?
Well, I find those discussions sort of trivial. I think that what you can certainly say is that he came into a group where Gilroy had established a culture, a serious culture, you know, where their feet, you know, the boys' feet was on the ground. They were expected to make a contribution in their local communities, you know, And I mean, one of the first things that happened with Jim was that, you know, that Jim used to fly the organ donation flights as a pilot, and it was thick as thieves with David Hickey, you know, the transplant surgeon.
Yes.
And whenever they won the All-Ireland in 2013, Jim rang me and he said, look, I had just started the Up for Life, the organ donation charity, and he said, look, we would like to do the game, you know, using Up for Life, you know, the Up for Life game after the All-Ireland. And that's what happened, you know, and so I got to know him well from that point on. Obviously, we played against each other. And it was the culture that he established in the group. You know, when I spoke to John Costello this week, I was getting some figures from the Dublin County Board of Expenditure on teams and all of that. And he said to me, you know, we've never been able to get him to claim expenses. He has never claimed expenses. And you can see that the culture in the group is one of, they're grown-ups, they're given autonomy. You know, it's not one of these controlling environments. And you see that in the way they perform in the field as individuals, serious, respectful men. You know, Jack McCaffrey's a doctor. You know, one of the important points that Jim always says that work is most important. Football is only secondary. You know, what you do with your lives outside of football is much more important. And you see that, sort of maturity in that group, which is unusual. And you see, you know, that, for example, you've got Dean Rock, who works with disabled children. Michael Darragh-McCauley now started this Inner City Trust Initiative. Just on Thursday of this week, I was privileged to be invited to take the last day of a 12-week programme in Ballybuck for men who suffer from drug and alcohol addictions, homelessness, isolation, you know, and it's a health, fitness, nutrition, cookery program, you know, where they've got a chef in. And over the course of the 12 weeks, the 24 men of all sorts of different ages, you know, were brought back to life. You know, they were, you know, by the end of it, they were motivated. They had, you know, formed firm friendships. They had learned to cook, you know, and those social bonds are extremely important. But right in the middle of that, of course, the Dublin GAA, they are heavily invested in it. Michael Darragh-McCauley is there giving the last day of the seminar, etc. And these are the quiet things that they do all the time. You know? And so that culture, where you've got serious respect for men who are playing for the right reasons and who are, you know, able then to perform on the field the way they do because their feet are on the ground. You know, it's only football in the end. And you know, that's been the most impressive thing about them, you know, that culture that's been created. Because up until then, Dublin teams were boom and bust. You know, I mean, Kerry and Tyrone were beating them up for fun during the noughties. And it was 16 years between 95 and Gilroy's All-Ireland in 2011. So the big difference was that change in culture.
Is this cyclical as well, though, Joe? You know, Dublin, they're not going to win All-Irelands forever. Is Jim maybe stepping down at the right time? I mean, he's nothing to prove, as you say. What does 6 mean for the new guy? Like, is it difficult now for the players to keep the hunger? Could cracks start appearing? Will other counties around the country feel a pep in their step today?
Because it's part of a healthy, balanced lifestyle with the Dubs. They, you know, I don't think they're going to have any difficulties with motivation. In fact, I think that next year they'll probably play with greater freedom. And I fully expect them, you know, to play better next year and to win the All-Ireland next year. But I do think that, for example, I think that Kerry's time has come at 5 in a row of minor All-Irelands, and with David Clifford set to become, you know, one of the greatest ever Gaelic footballers. I mean, I don't know if you saw his ludicrously outstanding and sometimes hilarious performances in the Kerry Championship this year, where all you could do was sort of clap your hands in delight. But Kerry are coming, there's no doubt. And Dublin, I think, perhaps win one, but certainly win next year, possibly the following year. But I think that will probably be it then, because other teams are going to start to catch up.
Is that dominance good for the game, Joe?
Well, I mean, was Kerry's 8 All-Irelands in 11 years good for the game? I mean, the reality is this, that there are only very few counties who genuinely participate in the All-Ireland. I mean, my father's fond of saying All-Irelands are for Kerry and Dublin. I mean, Derry came through once and won one, and it was almost miraculous. You know, people couldn't believe it. And it was terrific and all of that. But, I mean, everyone knew that wasn't going to be sustained. And it's just like the hurling. You know, hurling All-Irelands are for Kilkenny and Tipperary. And, you know, unless and until we have a radical restructuring of the GAA. So, for example, you know, you could say, okay, well, look, let's abandon the British drawn county boundaries, create 32 equal population areas, centralise the funding, create a transparent governing structure, and administer funds equally throughout these 32 new teams. You know, you could do that, for example. You could try that. I think it would probably work. It would take a while to bed in. And it would certainly invigorate the game and create a proper sort of GAA democracy. But as things stand, we've got to face it. And there's a 1.5 million population in Dublin. So on the law of averages, you know, strong Dublin teams are going to come around more regularly than a strong Derry team or a strong Tyrone team.
When you talk about culture, though, Joe, can that be replicated elsewhere, that culture you're talking about? The culture you're talking about, can that be replicated easily elsewhere, do you think?
Can that be what? Replicated?
Yeah.
You mean, can Dublin's sort of transparent governance and all the things that have led to their success here be replicated?
No, what I meant was that the culture you're talking about, Jim's culture, the humility, the confidence, the closing out type things.
I mean, we see that. It's very. I think one of the most important things is that there's a proper leadership at county board level. So you see something that holds back counties like Mayo is the civil war between the clubs and the county board. You know, the lack of transparent governance, the lack of confidence, you know, the lack of overall spirit, you know, everyone moving towards the same end. So you see in Kilkenny with the population of 98,000 at the 2015 census, that they were able to win 11 hurling All-Irelands between 2000 and 2015. That's a population of 98,000 people. The reason for that being that their money goes into participation in coaching. Again, holding famously doesn't take expenses. Management team for Kilkenny don't charge anything. So they've got pulled right down to the board. I mean, last year, for example, the Mayo senior team cost almost €1.1 million. That's what they cost. Dublin, just over 500,000. Kilkenny, hovering around 200,000. Kilkenny hurlers. So once you get your priorities right, I mean, Dublin have got their priorities right. I mean, they're spending $1.5 million a year on coaching, 53 full-time coaches in the schools and the clubs. And the ethos is participation, coaching, get the numbers up, you know. And other boards can do that. But I think that it's increasingly clear that with the sort of cronyism that has afflicted the GAA, that we're not fit for purpose. So that county boards are falling apart now. Cork have just announced that they've lost €500,000 this year, in 1 year alone. They've got a $110 million Parky Keys, a vanity project that has in essence bankrupted them. There's going to have to be a bailout. There's already been a $15 million bailout. There's going to have to be another one of roughly $25 million to go into Cork. There's civil war there between the clubs and the board. And we see exactly the same thing happening in Mayo, in Galway, in Derry, my own county, you know, where they've gone into Division 4 because of the lack of leadership and civil war between the clubs and the board. And this is an increasing problem that is not being addressed. You know, there are no proposals. There's no one sitting down saying, how do we work this out? And what Croke Park does is what it always does is the head goes into the sand and the Tom Ryan says, we're going to look at this situation carefully. Nothing's ever done. And we continue to limp along. But in a modern world, that is not good enough. And increasingly, we're seeing this collapse all over the country. We're seeing the problem of an overemphasis on the county game. The vast majority of funds that are collected in a county, in a GAA county, and small counties, will get swallowed up in the black hole of the senior county team. And, you know, in counties in the west of Ireland, for example, small clubs are dying away. They're fading away for lack of attention, for lack of funding, for lack of a proper governance at county board level. And these are the really urgent issues that need to be addressed, you know.
What was the best performance you saw from a Jim Gavin team in all the years?
Well, I mean, they were always a delight to watch. I thought that the day that they played Tyrone in the 2017 semi-final, I think it was, where Tyrone were bringing what many people felt was the most formidable blanket defence that the game had ever seen. They had suffocated teams right on the return Dublin. And really before that game, there was a genuine, will Dublin be able to unlock them? And I thought that the performance was just exhilarating. Carl Callahan's early goal, the way they dismantled Tyrone so joyously, and showed us all that there's a different way of playing football. Because, it is easy to play blanket defensive football. It's easy to start to get results and to keep the scores down against you. We see that in Ulster, for example, where we had 2 Ulster club semi-finals, and the Ulster club championship is usually a magnificent spectacle, where our 4 semi-finalists were all blanket defensive specialists. And we see that tomorrow with plenty, the home of the blanket defence. It's in the Guinness Pioneer, all of this, playing against Kilcoo. And what Dublin has done is shown us all there's another way of playing. I saw with Dublin and Kerry this year 2 terrific All-Ireland finals. And more than anything else, Jim has been great for the game. Great from the point of view of altruism. The things that Tim Gavin does behind the scenes, which they don't talk about and they're not allowed to be published. I'm privy to some of them. Very, very special guy, and I'm just delighted that he's had such success and conducted himself such a role model, and genuinely, I mean that sincerely.
All right, Joe. Well, we'll leave it there. Well, thanks for taking the time to appear on Off the Ball this afternoon, and we much appreciate your time, Joe Brawley, there, reflecting on the decision of Jim Gavin to step down as Dublin senior football manager after 7 years in charge, 5 All-Irelands in a row, 6 All-Irelands in total, only 1 defeat, I think, in 48 championship games. 53106, if you've got a comment on that, or a question for Damien Delaney in our football show. Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan with you through till 5 o'clock. We have a half-time report from the new White Hart Lane. Tottenham playing Bournemouth with Guy Swindles.
Spurs 1, Bournemouth 0. Hugely entertaining first half. Bournemouth grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck early on, but could find no way past Gazaniga, who made 2 decent saves. But then on the break, Alderweireld's ball brilliantly controlled by Son, putting the ball into the touch of Dele Alli, who tucked home. After that, it was Spurs on the attack. Kane was set up for a chance. Sanchez had a goal ruled out for handball from VAR, and they may have had a penalty when no VAR was called after the ball hit Cook's hand in the Bournemouth area. Spurs 1, Bournemouth 0.
How are the leaders getting on? Liverpool against Brighton. Shane Pennington.
Liverpool 2, Brighton 0, and Jurgen Klopp's side on course to extend their lead at the top of the Premier League tonight, courtesy of 2 goals from Virgil van Dijk, both from Alexander-Arnold's set pieces and both headers from 6 yards out. The Brighton defending, though, leaving a lot to be desired. But Brighton could be back in this game and probably should be. Lewis Dunk fired wide from 6 yards out from a Webster cross when it looked easier to score, and Propper has also been denied well by Alisson. It's not over yet, this game. Liverpool 2, Brighton 0.
We have a goal at Turf Moor between Burnley and Crystal Palace. Adam Jury.
Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1, and Wilfred Zaha has put the away side ahead just before half-time. He collected the ball on the left-hand side, drifted into the penalty area. He had a marker, shifted the ball onto his left foot and fired towards the near post, and Nick Pope couldn't quite get a strong enough hand to it to deny him. Poor from the keeper, but it gives Palace a 1-goal lead. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1.
Now we got a half-time in from Chelsea and West Ham at Stamford Bridge. Nigel Bidmead.
Chelsea 0, West Ham 0. Chelsea on top. They've had twice as much of the ball as West Ham and have had 9 shots to the visitors too. But the best opening of the game fell to West Ham centre forward Mikel Antonio. His diving header from Snodgrass's pacey cross was only kept out by a terrific save from Kepa. That was in the 24th minute, and that seemed to stop Chelsea in their tracks with only the occasional attack after that. 0-0 at the Bridge.
Now, this is Off the Ball, Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you until 5 o'clock this evening. 53106 is our text number. We're streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook and on Twitter, so get in touch with your comments on the Off the Ball social channels. Just some of the texts that we're getting in here today. A lot on Arsenal. Unai Emery was never the right man for the club. That's from Phil. Thank God he's gone. Arsenal needs someone to get a club legend in to know what the club is all about. That's from Mark in Cork. I like Unai, lads, but I just feel Arsenal have been on the downer for this number of years. Since Vieira left, we haven't been the same. We haven't had any leaders since like him in the team since. Jose was available. Arsenal, let Spurs get him first. The club is a joke. Unai should have been gone before the last international break. That's from Niall in Galway. Would Damien Delaney enjoy playing with his current Arsenal team? We'll ask him after the break. Ancelotti, totally overrated. A cup specialist, rarely wins the league. When he was managing Bayern, the players were meeting up in a park to do extra training. Rodgers has loyalty. Are you mad? Celtic to Leicester, from immortality to mediocrity.
Oh, God. If I hear any more about that Celtic to Leicester argument, like, put yourself in. Like, Celtic fans have the greatest delusions of everything, of any club. Like, why would he not go to Leicester from Celtic? I mean, actually, it doesn't even warrant conversation.
Let's take a break.
Join that conversation on Facebook and Twitter.
This Black Friday, get instant cash back on our huge range of LG, Sony, Samsung and Panasonic TVs. For more information, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
This week at Dunnes Stores, we've got some great festive offers. Like Budweiser, Carlsberg and Coors Light 500ml 24 packs for just €20. And McVitie's Victoria Biscuits 550 gram for just €3. Plus save more with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. See online for terms and conditions. Minimum spend required. Please drink responsibly.
Imagine Bus Connects, an efficient, reliable bus network for Dublin, taking more people to more places more often. Better for the future needs of our growing city. That's why, based on hearing from 50,000 people, we've revised our bus network proposals to bring better bus services for Dublin. You spoke, we listened. Now we want to hear from you again. So we've opened a second round of public consultation. For details on the proposed bus services, how to give feedback, and to check out our new route mapper, visit busconnects.ie. Bus Connects is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
At Renault, we're on a mission to drive down carbon emissions. So we created Renault Carbon Rewards, rewarding you for choosing a cleaner car with savings of €3,500 guaranteed on the all-new Renault Clio. For more rewards across our cleaner Renault range, visit Renault.ie or drop into your local Renault dealer today. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Early detection makes a difference.
Timely access to treatment does too.
Equal access to new and existing medicines.
The fantastic care of our doctors and nurses.
It all makes a difference in giving us more time.
This Lung Cancer Awareness Month, the Marie Keating Foundation wants to put time back on the agenda for lung cancer patients. We're fighting for more time to give lung cancer patients more moments and memories with their loved ones. For more, visit mariekeating.ie. Kindly supported by MSD and Bristol Myers Squibb.
When you find the right home, you want nothing to get in your way. That's why Lea Life offer mortgage protection in minutes, not weeks. Our fast, straightforward mortgage protection application process is the best way to keep your mortgage moving. No paperwork or medical, just a few simple questions and you're covered in an instant, starting at €2.33 per week. For mortgage protection that's streets ahead, visit lealife.ie or call 1890 907 100.
Insurance provided by iptiQ Life SA. Leia Healthcare Limited, trading as Leia Life and Leia Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
What do you really want for Christmas? How about a brand new Nissan Qashqai? It could be yours, thanks to Dundeal's Christmas car giveaway. Simply search dundeal.ie for the new 2019 Nissan Qashqai with the gold Dundeal badge. Then make an inquiry on the car to enter the free draw to drive it home for Christmas. Dundeal, it's Ireland's largest car showroom in the palm of your hand.
Over the last number of years, AIB have been working to build a more sustainable business. We have invested in wind energy projects, launched a €5 billion climate action fund, signed a low-carbon pledge, and yet it's still not enough. We will keep telling ourselves that every day. AIB alone is not the solution to climate change, but we're doing everything we can to be a part of it. AIB, we pledge to do more. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All you need this Christmas is carry-out off-licence. Make your money go further with our incredible deals on box beers, multi-pack cans and wines from all over the world. Plus our amazing Eastern European selection, such as the fantastic Perla beer range, now in stock. Fill your cupboard for less this festive season. Carry out off-licence. Simply better wines and beers. Simply better value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Bargain Town's Black Friday weekend sale now on. 20% off beds and mattresses this weekend only. Sale ends Monday 6 p.m. So hurry on down while stocks last. Bargain Town.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop.
Battery low.
Not on our watch. At Christmas, in real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. We're laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. In real life, you can browse with the most advanced search engine, your eyes. We heart in real life. Dundrum Town Centre.
Grow your business with Gavin McLaughlin.
This week on the Grow Your Business podcast, Ted Webb, Managing Director of IBI Corporate Finance, and Colin Culleton, Chief Executive of TPI Group, join me as we examine the process of acquiring other companies. How do you identify a takeover target? How do you negotiate the best purchase price? And how do you integrate the new business into your existing company?
Grow your business from News Talk with Gavin McLaughlin. Thanks to Euronext Dublin.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now at newstalk.com or on the News Talk app.
Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
Good evening, I'm Tina Gates. Fianna Fáil's Malcolm Byrne has topped the poll in the Wexford by-election with 31.2% of the vote. Fianna Fáil's Pádraig O'Sullivan is on course to top the poll in Cork North Central. In Dublin Fingal, the Green Party's Joe O'Brien looks set to be the first in his party to win a by-election seat. And Sinn Féin's Mark Ward has topped the poll in the Dublin Midwest by-election, but with a record low turnout of just 26.58%, he's 5,000 short of the quota and needs transfers.
Well, it's still in the mix, it's still going to go down the transfers, but I'm over the moon. Our message out in the doors, talking to people all around Clondalkin, all around Lucan, all around Dublin Midwest, around the failing health crisis, around transport issues, around the housing crisis, has really resonated. The Sinn Féin supporters came out on the day.
The Taoiseach is playing down reports that Lisa Smith is set to be deported back to Ireland in the coming days. The former soldier and Air Corps member travelled to Syria in 2015 to join the Islamic State group and was transferred to Turkish custody in recent weeks. Simon Coveney says the government remains in contact with Turkish authorities.
I've made it very clear in relation to Lisa Smith that this is a consular case. We don't talk publicly about that. There's been a lot of media speculation. Some of it's been inaccurate. We've been working on this case for some time and we remain in contact with the Turkish authorities who've been very helpful in relation to this case. We'll have to wait and see how it develops.
Gardaí are still investigating a shooting in Cork last night. A man in his 40s was seriously wounded outside his home at around 20 to 8. He's said to be stable in hospital today. Gardaí have found stolen car parts worth more than €30,000 in County Westmeath after searching a business premises in Mullingar. A man in his 30s was later arrested but since released without charge. A working blast device has been disarmed after forcing an evacuation in County Armagh. PSNI officers found it during a search in the Woodview Park area of Tondragee at 10:25 this morning. It's now been taken away for a technical examination. A 20-year-old woman and 21-year-old man have been arrested and residents have been allowed to return to their homes. That's it for now. All news updates are on our website. That's newstalk.com.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. You can find our lowest car insurance price online, guaranteed.
Mostly cloudy and dry today with the odd shower affecting South Munster and Leinster. Maximum temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now, you're very welcome back to the football show here on Off the Ball Saturday. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. John Duggan with you this Saturday and every Saturday in the company of Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan in studio. The Republic of Ireland International, formerly Damien Delaney, on Skype. Just the scores in the Premier League, if you're only catching up now. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1. Goalless between Chelsea and West Ham. Liverpool, the leaders, 2-0 up on Brighton. Tottenham 1-0 up on Bournemouth. In the Championship, the leaders to be Leeds, if they continue this way, 2-0 up against Middlesbrough. It's Barnsley 1, Hull 0. Earlier it ended. Charlton 1, Sheffield Wednesday 3. Half-time Birmingham 0, Millwall 0. Half-time Brentford 5, Luton 0. That's pretty much a turn up for the books there. Half-time Bristol City 4, Huddersfield Town 1. Half-time Derby 1, QPR 1. Half-time Nottingham Forest 0, Cardiff City 1. Half-time Stoke City 0, Blackburn Rovers 1. Half-time Wigan Athletic 1, Reading 0. Couple of big races today. The Fighting Fifth Hurdle at Newcastle. Bouverdere, the hot favourite, beaten by Cornerstone Lad at a price of 16 to 1. And the Ladbrokes Trophy, formerly known as the Hennessy at Newbury. The Rasher Counter for all the Dubs and the Irish fans who pronounced bacon as Rasher. It's the Rasher Counter winning at 12 to 1 for Emma Lavette and Ben Jones. Elegant Escape was third, so the Rasher Counter winning at 12 to 1. Connacht against the Southern Kings at 5:15. Glasgow against Leinster, these in the Pro 14 at 7:35. Question for Damien Delaney. We've seen multiple examples of modern day players downing tools and not playing for a boss. Should they not just forget about the manager and play for the fans, or do they even care about the fans these days? That's from Dinny.
It's very difficult when players aren't on board with the manager's not on board with the player. You need that harmony there. And when people use the term downing tools, it's not so much players walk in and don't bother putting their boots on in the morning to go training. It's more that, like, mentally they've kind of detuned from the manager and they're just come off at 5-10%, and that's enough to warrant bad performances. So I would never say that players, that term means they physically come in and just gone on strike. It doesn't. It just means that the manager isn't motivating the players aren't buying into the manager's ideas, and they just lose a little bit of interest and focus, and that's enough to lose you games.
Loving the GA on Off the Ball today. Well, the reason why we're talking GA on the football show is because Jim Gavin has stepped down as manager of the Dublin senior footballers after 7 years. Was Damien much of a hurler or Gaelic footballer? Did you not know, Tim, that Damien won a Munster minor, I think in 1999, scored 2 goals at Croke Park against Mayo in a semi-final? You still much in touch with the big ball, Damien?
Football's a tough watch for me. I will watch if Cork are playing, but I wouldn't sit down and watch Derry v Tyrone or someone on the telly. But if Cork were playing, I would. But I would certainly go to my way to watch a hurling match without doubt. Any of the Munster clubs really, or Munster teams, sorry. I would definitely sit down or make time in my day to be at home to watch those games or get to a game if I could.
Damien, on things going wrong at clubs, like you played at Leicester, Hull, QPR, Palace. What was the worst day, and Ipswich, of course, as well, when things went wrong?
And hopefully it involves Roy Keane, does it?
Roy Keane and stories that we can actually broadcast on air here on News Talk and Off the Ball.
Save it for that book we're going to write, Damien.
What do you mean with worst day when things go wrong, like after a result?
Like, you know the way it seems like at the moment at Arsenal, at Everton, at West Ham, at Watford, that they all seem to be very unhappy camps. Like, when you're going in every day, you're feeling that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. You're feeling the pressure. You've lost 4 or 5 games in a row. There's definitely an element, or there will definitely be an element in the change room where a lot of players, or certain players, will be coming in thinking, would this guy ever just go? They will want him to go because they just don't believe in him anymore. Some fellas will be thinking, okay, it's time. Players will be having little chats amongst themselves that, would this guy ever just hurry up and go? Because, we've lost interest in him. And once that starts happening, it is only a matter of time then. And once the board or the ownership gets wind that the players aren't feeding the manager anymore, then he's gone.
I'm looking at Marco Silva here, Everton's third manager in just over 2 years. I was reading that Farhad Moshiri has invested over 400 million in the Toffees, and it doesn't seem like they've got any better since when Moyes was there. And they're even talking about getting Moyes back.
That's certainly very, very surprising. They've spent that much money and they haven't really progressed at all. They haven't gotten better. At best, they've kind of maintained what they were doing, and that is a big at best. It just shows to show you money doesn't always solve it. As we spoke at the top of the show, Manchester United have thrown money at a problem and they haven't fixed it. Manchester City have obviously thrown so much money at a problem, but they've also got their structure right off the pitch as well. And I think that's where Everton are probably lacking at the minute. I know there's a director of football there. There was a director of football, the man that was at Leicester.
Marcel Brands. Or Steve, it was Steve Walsh before that, yeah.
Steve Walsh before that, sorry, yeah, and then Marcel Brands. So I think it's always good when you have a director of football and a manager that kind of come as a pair and they work well together and they understand each other's needs and they understand each other's moods. But when you got an owner that picks a director of football and then an owner that picks a manager that's completely different, the director of football will more often work with the owner, and he will often be the go-between between the owner and the manager. So ideally, I think it's better off having the pairing of a director of football and a manager, both reporting to the owner, as opposed to the owner and the director of football kind of reporting to the manager, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Everton have got Leicester, tomorrow. Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United all to come in the league. Like, this is going to get worse before it gets better, I'd expect.
Yeah.
For those Irish toffees listening.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious that two managers were going to go in the very near future. One of them is gone, and the other one is probably Silva with the fixture list that they have coming up, and just hovering one place above the drop zone at the moment, which for Everton. The figure you mentioned there, John, like, what was that spent on? You know, like
Filthy Sigurdsson, a lot of it.
Yeah, like Sigurdsson's been, I guess, one of the bright lights, but it's mad to think that they're a fairly ordinary side, but the new coach coming in, they're actually not a million miles off fifth place. They're only they're 14 points as it is. Spurs will be on 20. So there is an upside there for a manager coming in, but I think Silva will last maybe 1-2 games max.
We got a goal at Stamford Bridge. This is Chelsea against West Ham and Nigel Bidmead.
Chelsea 0, West Ham United 1. Aaron Cresswell, the scorer, just 2.5 minutes after the restart. Cracking goal as well. A lovely counter-attack from West Ham. Fornells let it go to Cresswell in on his right foot and bent it round the keeper. It's Chelsea 0, West Ham 1.
This is going to happen for Spurs, isn't it, JD? This is Chelsea are losing. City obviously dropping points. 200 to 1 they were during the week to finish second to Liverpool.
After you move the market?
They're still 80 to 1.
There's been a goal at the new White Hart Lane. Spurs against Bournemouth. Guy Spindle.
Spurs 2, Bournemouth 0. A nearly identical goal to Spurs' first one. Alderweireld in his own half plays a long ball. This time there was no Son to put it into the path of Dele Alli. Alli bringing it down himself on his chest, cutting past two defenders brilliantly and then beating the goalkeeper. Fine finish, but this is a remarkable double from Alderweireld and Dele Alli. Spurs 2, Bournemouth 0.
I mean, there's your walking example of what Damien just talked about. You know, fans say players down in tools. Like, Dele Alli never downed tools. I sat in the stadium, unfortunately, the night against Bayern Munich when we got to Trimmen, so I did, and he worked and he ran around and all that. But he just looked like a fella.
That's Mourinho. That's Mourinho going to him and saying, "You're the best in the world."
Absolutely, but you can't get away with that, Shane, at that level. If you're not mentally 100%, you're playing at such a high level.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can't get away with being 90% mentally right. And you can tell that it's not like Mourinho. In fairness to him, if he still does have that magic of the man manager, like the transformation of Dele Alli straight away. Ericsson was very good as well the other night. He looked much better. It's really going to be fascinating to see. It's going to be a great narrative between now and the end of the season.
Damien, did you see the match of the night, or what have you made of Mourinho since he came in? I expected this. Like, he has the charm, he has the charisma. When he's happy, he can probably make it feel like $1 million. You know.
It's good, but he looks reinvigorated himself. I know he's gone and got a new coaching team. I think one of his coaches is only 30 years of age.
From Lille, Sacramento.
I mean, and I think that will. He was probably gone stale a little bit working with Rui Ferreira. I don't know. And the other couple of coaches he had with him. So, I mean, he's kind of reinvented himself and he looks reinvigorated and he can get back to man management. He's in a club where the structures are in place. Daniel Levy runs the show. Everybody knows that. They have a good young squad. They have good young players coming through a nice stadium. It's pretty much the opposite of what Man United were. So he's coming into a much better situation there, and I'm absolutely delighted he's back.
What about your dad? He was threatening to end his 65-year relation with Spurs.
That's a good way of putting it, because I was just about to say I don't think it really changes anything. So to my dad, Johnny, this will change absolutely nothing, because he'll say, yeah, sure, of course, he always gets instant success, and his teams always get a few results early on, and he might even pick you up a trophy in the first year, but essentially it's all doomed to end in failure. But then is every managerial appointment not doomed to end in failure?
Like every political career and every managerial manager. Spurs will...
Apart from Jim Gavin, yeah.
Jim went out at the right time. Spurs will fancy crack the Champions League, I think, because, as I said earlier, there is no outstanding team in Europe. And Spurs, Mourinho and cup competitions... Like, I thought defensively the other night they were poor, and that's something that definitely would not last under him.
I know he said that Eric Dyer was tactical, but Eric Dyer was off the pace.
Yeah, he did start him again today, though. I definitely thought he'd face the chop today. I thought the most interesting one in the Spurs selection today is that he's gone with Jan Vertonghen at left back, because I think both left backs have been, regularly kind of caught.
Well, or you're always waiting for a mistake to happen.
Well, that's I think he'll sign in that area in January. I think.
Lads, the most interesting team selection that I've seen the Tottenham side today is no Harry Winks. because Harry Winks was at fault for the first 2 goals. He got cut inside in the Champions League the other night. Tried to win the ball, got cut inside. No, fair enough, Gazaniga should have saved it. And then the second one from the corner, it's his man that make the run across Danny Rose, and he loses him. So Harry Winks is the reason why Spurs are conceding goals. He's not a defensive midfield player, but at that point in time, there's no way he was going to take Eric Dyer or Harry Winks off because they were 2-0 down. So he took off the defensive one, and he thought Harry Winks can definitely pass the ball, so we'll keep him on the pitch. But I'll tell you what, in another game, I'm not starting him, because the last 2 games, his first game against West Ham, when they weren't playing, having a good spell in the game, they shipped 2 goals. And then the other night when they weren't playing, they didn't start very well, they shipped 2 goals. And that's because midfielders like Harry Winks are flimsy, they're lightweight, brilliant footballers, but they're lightweight.
Would you worry from then under Mourinho?
I think Harry Winks will be a bit par player under Mourinho. If they're chasing a game or they're playing against the Crystal Palace, they're going to have 80% possession. He's a guy that'll play, because there's no doubt about it. Harry Winks can pass the football. He definitely can control a game with his passing, and he's neat and tidy, and he has everything. But I tell you, in Champions League games, when they're under the cosh, that fella is just a calamity, really.
You look at the position that he's playing in, and then you look at the kind of player who normally plays in that position for Mourinho. I mean, you couldn't have more chalk and cheese. Makelele's, Essien's, Matic. I mean, these boys are the complete and utter opposite to
what... Do you think, just on that, do you think, like, will he strengthen much, and will players be attracted now to going to Spurs, to play in that stadium, and living in London?
Mourinho.
And play for Mourinho, exactly.
Good Mourinho.
But who does he sign? Because he is a man that, like...
You're looking to sign Nathan
If
Ake,
Drogba
apparently.
were a few years younger, he'd be... Do you know what I mean? He goes for the same type of players, but it'll be interesting.
But that's why it was so important that he did get off to a good start, because if the transfer window opens in January, it's a big difference between Spurs are a mile off and Mourinho hasn't changed much, compared to all of a sudden things are moving in the right direction.
But he's keeping Harry Kane at the club. Harry Kane, he's going to build a team around him.
Ericsson is a big question.
Yeah, well, Ericsson was brilliant in that second half. I watched it the other night. Damien, do you think Spurs have the nucleus of players to do something this season?
I think Johnny Shout of Spurs finishing second isn't too off the wall, or it's not as off the wall as 200 to 1 or 80 to 1 sounds. So I think they can definitely finish in second. I think they could definitely have a right good go at the FA Cup, and I think they could get into the last 4 of the Champions League again. I think that would be a good season for Spurs. Jose coming in has definitely arrested the slide. I think that was potentially happening under Pochettino. If you leave that slide go for too long, as Arsenal did with Arsene Wenger, you end up where Arsenal are. They've arrested that, and they've kind of turned it around now. Now, granted, it always ends in tears with Mourinho, but I tell you, in 2 years' time, they could be in a lot better shape than they were if Pochettino had stayed.
Lads, this is a text in on 53106. We will see how this new Mourinho does when 1 or 2 results go against Spurs. That's when we'll see if the special one can improve them or throw the bottle out of the pram again and lose the dressing room. From Carl, who will Jose look to buy in January, or does he need to?
Well, I think he's going to go after number 6, definitely. A brand new kind of young Nemanja Matic type player, a Dembele type, a strong holding midfield player who can defend, big and physical, but also can pass the ball.
Johnny, don't lose the keeper composure. Tell that Rangers fan in the studio to give it a break, saying how much he's fed up of hearing about Rodgers leaving a side that play European football every year to one that doesn't. Neil in Mayo. Don't say anything, Johnny.
I'm not a Rangers fan. The guy who played midfield for Valencia the other night, I don't know if you saw their game against Chelsea.
Madcap game.
I don't know if you saw it, Damien. I should know this player. He's like 29 at this stage. He would absolutely be brilliant at Spurs. Ran the game with his left foot. I will remember his name shortly, but they do need that type of midfielder. I just feel this. From an Irish perspective, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Troy Parrott, because Mourinho is not the type of manager to give Troy Parrott much of a chance. I think he might have been better off with Pochettino, so hopefully Troy might go out and loan somewhere.
Is he better doing that, Damien? Go out and loan?
Yeah, 100% he's got to go on loan. There's no way. I mean, even Pochettino said he was a couple of years away from playing in the first team, and Pochettino is a manager who gives young players a chance. Jose, you have to be the finished deal or the real deal to get in his team, so I think Troy Parrott will not be involved for Spurs very often, so he's best off going on loan.
It's Pareo is that player. Sorry, he was absolutely outstanding the other night.
The only question on that, John, is how much importance Spurs place on the under-19 Champions League, because they're absolutely ripping it up at that level.
He scored there as well.
Top goal scoring competition, so he is.
All he does is score goals, this fella.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I actually had this conversation. Damien, it'd be interesting to get Damien's take on this. The thing I find about Troy Parrott, right, which obviously was the same, say, for Robbie Keane or somebody like that when as a manager, and for Damien, say, as a centre-back, so it'll be interesting in his take, but as a manager, right, if I'm managing against a team and they've got a centre-forward who's banging in goals, if you can identify it's because of his pace, well, then you might say, OK, we're going to play with a deeper backline than we normally would to try and nullify the amount of space he has in behind. If he scores loads of goals by heading balls from crosses, well, then you say, OK, we're going to play with a higher line and we'll try and keep them outside the 18-yard box. The problem with a Troy Parrott, as with he doesn't have one particular quality that you go, oh yeah, like that's his big quality and that's why he causes teams problems. His only quality seems to be that he keeps kicking the ball into the back of the net.
It's like
how do you plan for that? Which is brilliant. It's brilliant, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's not, like you said, one thing. He has a lot of strings to his bow. So, but he will have weaknesses, and they will get shown up as he goes up the levels, as he moves into the 23s, and if he moves into the first team, someone will find a weakness in his game, and then they'll give him that, and then that kind of throws it back into his court, where he now has to go back to the drawing board and either limit those weaknesses or become better at something else. Do you understand what I'm saying? So people will figure out his weaknesses. He will have one. I don't think he's blessed with electric pace.
No, definitely not.
I'd say that is probably his weakness. I don't think he is mobile, but he's not electric.
I'll tell you what I'd love to see him do, Damien. I'd love to see him do what Conor Ronan has done. I'd love to see him going to the continent. I don't know if that'd be an option for him, but if he could get a loan deal to a European club for 6 months where he faces a different challenge, a different style of football, that could help bring him on leaps and bounds too.
I would be highly surprised if Spurs did that, because if they do that, then it means that's his career over at Spurs, because they're not priming him for the Premier League or English football.
True.
They're saying basically, you've no future with us, so we suggest you go and play somewhere else. I think at the moment he's still developing with the UEFA League, and they're happy to leave him there because he's being challenged and he's learning, he's improving. As soon as he becomes too good for that, or that's too easy for him, when something becomes too easy, he'll regress as a player because he'll pick up bad habits. As soon as he becomes comfortable at that level, then he'll go out on loan. But I think at the moment they probably still think he's got a few bits to learn.
Now, don't forget the Euro 2020 draw takes place at 5 o'clock in Bucharest. We now know that the Republic of Ireland will play 2 matches in Dublin and the other one against Spain in Bilbao if they qualify. Mick McCarthy's men need to beat Slovakia and then either Northern Ireland or Bosnia at the end of March next year to qualify. The potential opponents in the group are one of France, Poland, Switzerland and Croatia, and one of Portugal, Turkey, Austria, Sweden and the Czech Republic. So we could have a situation where if we did qualify, we'd have Spain, France and Portugal. That'd be great. And if we don't qualify, we'll have lovely matches in Dublin, won't we?
Why are you so negative, John? It's when we qualify, obviously.
Yeah, well, given what I've seen in recent times, I'd be of the view that I kind of want to see the team under Stephen Kenny. Now, during the week, Noel Mooney was speaking about Stephen Kenny. Noel Mooney, of course, leaving the FAI now to go back to the UEFA. He was general manager of the FAI. After he was speaking about Stephen Kenny being entitled to choose his own backroom team when he moves up to senior level. Now, where does this leave Robbie Keane? Apparently, Robbie Keane's contract is longer than Mick's contract. Should there be a role, Damien, for Robbie Keane in Stephen Kenny's setup, or is that really irrelevant at all?
I think Stephen Kenny's the only man that can answer that question. Yeah. It depends on what Stephen Kenny's looking for. He has his own coaches now, in Keith Andrews and Jim Crawford. Yeah. So I mean, if Stephen Kenny sees merit in it, he will. I think Stephen Kenny knows exactly what he wants. He's definitely a manager who is in control of his environment. So I could never speculate as to. I did see in the paper though, sorry, that Robbie was kind of touting himself for the under-21 job. So maybe he's already been told that there won't be a role there for you.
Yeah, if you notice the Ireland bench in these games when they score goals, there's so much vigour and enthusiasm and togetherness in what they're doing. I would say there's less than no chance of Kenny taking Robbie Keane on. He's never, as far as I know, he's never spoken about it in an interview, and that's for a reason, in that he probably just doesn't want to talk about it. But there's
should there be a role though for Robbie Keane in Irish football? No,
if that's up to Stephen Kenny. To me, no. Like Stephen Kenny will have his team. I do believe we're on the cusp of the most exciting Irish team, if not certainly in a long time. We actually have attacking players of considerable ability at underage level, and there's every chance at least half of them will progress to be top players. Stephen Kenny.
Yes, Johnny.
Yeah, well, I mean, I heard your comments about Kenny and Mick McCarthy after the game against the Denmark game, and no, I thought you were right, Damien. In fairness, we have a manager going in there who is going to focus on what we can do. And what I love about Kenny is when they were missing 6 players or whatever from one of the 21 squads. I think it was the Armenia game. Kenny didn't talk about them. He spoke about how good the players were that were at his disposal. And, you know, Mick saying he would have bitten your hand off for a draw. I remember speaking to Stephen Kenny before the Toulon tournament game against Brazil, in which Ireland, I think, were 25-1 shots, and he said, we're not going to be sitting back here. We're going to take Brazil on. And I was just like, you're mad, but, you know, I love this. It's about what we can do, not what we can't do.
I think the argument for having somebody like Robbie there obviously is the prestige and the aura of having somebody around like that. But I'll throw a curveball at you. If there is a role for somebody like that in the new setup, I'll tell you, I would make a massive argument for somebody getting in contact with Celtic and seeing if they're willing to allow Damien Duff to double up in some capacity. The FAI annual coaching conference was on in Carlow IT last Saturday and Sunday. I was down there for the weekend, and Damien put on the practical session on the pitch on the Sunday morning, and he was absolutely superb. He really was. I mean, Terry Connor had put on the Saturday one, and it paled in significance to what Damien put on Sunday. And I'm not just talking about the content of the session. I'm talking about Damien as a coach, his energy, his way of communicating, that aura as well. He was so impressive. He really was. And he seems to be doing really well at Celtic, and international, can the two of them be juggled? I'd make a really strong argument for seeing if he could be roped in some capacity.
That's probably not a bad shout. And if you speak to anyone at Shamrock Rovers, we spoke to Stephen Bradley on our podcast earlier on this year, and he said the man is just absolutely obsessed. He never shuts off never stops thinking about football, and by all accounts is going to make a proper coach. That's something that Kenny might look into, but it won't be Robbie Keane.
Just as an aside, it's an amazing development in Damien, because I was speaking to, I actually saw Damien doing his A licence assessment, which I was impressed with, but I was somebody was at Damien's B licence assessment, and apparently he actually got sick on the side of the pitch. He was so nervous before he started doing the assessment. I'll tell you now, he's the most confident and superb coach I've seen in a while.
53106 for your text. Don't forget the amount of players in the Spurs squad Mourinho has tried to sign at some point. Toby, Kane, Dele, Moura, Rose, Eriksson, and who wouldn't want Son? He would never have gone to Arsenal over Spurs if offered the choice. We'll see vintage Mourinho here at Spurs. That's from Oisin in Dublin. Can we stop building a parish? We've heard it all before. Stokes, Gibson, McShane, Partridge, Barrett, Greg Cunningham all got built up. Let the lad develop. And Damien Delaney, just before I let you go, thanks for your brilliant contribution today. I'm going over to this derby in a couple of weeks, Palace against Brighton. What should I do? Do I need to protect myself? I don't know, wear a bulletproof vest or anything like that?
No, you'll be fine. I think they're fairly well policed, and it does get a little bit heated, and it is a rivalry for some reason. I never quite got to the bottom of it.
There's with Alan Mullery, I think, something to do with Alan Mullery.
There's a lot of stories about, bits and pieces. So, but it is a derby, and it is the biggest game for the Palace fans. It's the game they look to first. They really do have a hatred towards Brighton for whatever reason. So you'll enjoy it. It'll be a good game.
I've been to a few Premier League grounds, John. Not that many, but the atmosphere in Selhurst Park.
Blood all over.
Wipes the floor with anywhere I've been, including Anfield.
It's funny, Damien. One of my best friends, he's lived in the UK for about 15 years, and he's actually himself and his son. He's from Dublin. Like they're in a group of all season ticket holders at Palace. So they're sitting in the same area at Selhurst Park every week with the same people around them, using the same kind of passion, I would say, every single week. So it's a real kind of family community ground, and I'm sure you enjoyed your time there.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best places I got to play football. But I'm a fan of old-fashioned stadiums and rickety old grounds. So it's a fantastic atmosphere when it gets going.
Damien, thanks for today, and we'll speak to you, everybody, after the break.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen. Grow your business with Gavin McLaughlin.
This week on the Grow Your Business podcast, Ted Webb, Managing Director of IBI Corporate Finance, and Colin Culleton, Chief Executive of TPI Group, join me as we examine the process of acquiring other companies. How do you identify a takeover target? How do you negotiate the best purchase price? And how do you integrate the new business into your existing company?
Grow your business from News Talk with Gavin McLaughlin. Thanks to Euronext Dublin.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now at newstalk.com or on the News Talk app.
Have a great afternoon with Harvey Norman with the best Black Friday sale deals right now on TVs and home appliances. Deals competitors just can't beat.
Go, Harvey, go. Your life doesn't just magically happen. You build it. Taking time and care to construct something that works for you. Gathering the things that make your life better. Full. Things that fit, things you need, things you love. Whatever car you choose needs to fit your life seamlessly. And however you choose to live, there's a 201 Mini made for you and your world. Explore the 201 range at mini.ie or your local retailer. Drive Mini, live major. Pandora's Black Friday promotion is here. Make this Christmas unforgettable with 20% off your favourite pieces. But hurry, this offer won't be around for long. Ends Monday the 2nd of December while stocks last. Terms and exclusions apply.
Have a cracking Christmas with Centra. We have great offers, like Centra Irish strip loin steak, half price now $11.49 per kilo. Selected Christmas biscuits, like Cadbury and Oreo assortment box, any 2 for €8. And Hornhead Sauvignon Blanc and Malbec wine, 2 for €15. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
I'm Phil Coulter, and this is Return to Tranquility. 13 brand new recordings of classic songs like this.
It's where you make it. There's no place like it. It's where the heart is. It's home. And if you're a landlord who rents out one or more homes, you must register your tenancies with the Residential Tenancies Board. It's the law. If you delay, you will be liable for late fees. You can register now, online at rtb.ie or by post. For more information, just visit rtb.ie.
Take the stress out of Christmas with this week's Sunday Independent. Get the annual Life Christmas gift guide with a perfect gift for everyone on every budget, supporting Irish shops. Hosier gets philosophical with Barry Egan, talking about God, science, and what makes him angry about Ireland. And the political landscape has changed, but what does it say about our country and the future of our politics? Plus Ciara Kelly on the great unspoken sexless marriage. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
All you need this Christmas is carry-out off-licence. Make your money go further with our incredible deals on box beers, multi-pack cans and wines from all over the world. Plus our amazing Eastern European selection, such as the fantastic Perla beer range, now in stock. Fill your cupboard for less this festive season. Carry out off-licence. Simply better wines and beers. Simply better value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Arnott's Christmas Mega is now on. It's too big to contain. With 20% off almost everything. Something this mega won't stick around for long. Don't let it get away from you. Best get moving. Must end Monday.
It's the 16th country I've seen them in on this tour jackpot.
The Lotto Jackpot is €6 million. Play responsibly in-app, in-store or at lottery.ie. Lotto. Time to play. Estimated jackpot.
The new Mitsubishi L200 looks tough and moves tough, but makes every driving challenge seem easy. With Super Select 4-wheel drive, 4 unique driving modes, advanced safety features, including bird's eye view camera, the rock-solid L200 is the ultimate pickup for you. And you'll get a €1,500 trade-in booster when you upgrade your 4x4 to the new L200 before the end of January. Book a test drive at your local authorised Mitsubishi dealer today. See mitsubishimotors.ie for details. Terms and conditions apply.
What have we got here?
55-year-old male with the worst case of drop jaw I've seen, Doctor.
Goodness, his jaw is quite literally dropped onto the floor.
He was trying on the latest hearing aid technology at Specsavers.
What? Specsavers have high-tech hearing aids? That is astonishing.
Apparently these are rechargeable and connect to your smartphone and TV. Doctor? Doctor? I need some help over here.
Get the latest rechargeable Bluetooth hearing aid technology at Specsavers from €1,000 a pair with PRSI. Subject to eligibility, smartphone required. Ask in store for details.
At Eason, it's Black Friday with 3 for 2 on the latest bestsellers, including Ethna Shortold's endearing 3 Little Truths, Sophie White's witty Filter This, Brian O'Connell's fascinating The Personals, The Dirtbird Self-Help Guide, and the hilarious I Am the Border So I Am by Border Irish. All 3 for 2 in store at Eason now. Eason, be inspired.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
And you're very welcome back to the football show here on Off the Ball for your Saturday afternoon. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. John Duggan with you this Saturday and every Saturday in the company of Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan. In studio today, a goal at the New White Hart Lane. Spurs against Bournemouth with Guy Spindles.
Spurs 3, Bournemouth 0, and Spurs have wrapped up this match. First two goals came from Dele Alli, but the third was the pick of the bunch. Son started the move and played a 40-yard 1-2 with that man, Ali, before racing down the left-hand side and putting in a perfect cross that Sissoko, stretching, did superbly to volley home. Spurs on their way to a win. Spurs 3, Bournemouth 0.
Now, Liverpool on their way to an 11-point lead over Manchester City. If you're comparing the first two from last season in the Premier League, they're 2-0 up at home to Brighton. It's Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 0, West Ham United 1. Half-5 kick-off is between Southampton and Watford. Newcastle 2, Manchester City 2. The result from earlier on at St James's Park. In the Championship, the leaders to be will be Leeds United. They're going to be leading the table tonight because they're 3-0 up against Middlesbrough. Elsewhere, it ended earlier on. Charlton Athletic 1, Sheffield Wednesday 3. It's Barnsley 1, Hull 0 into the second half. It's Birmingham City 0, Millwall 1, Brentford 5, Luton Town 0, Bristol City 5, Huddersfield Town 2, Derby County 1, QPR 1, Nottingham Forest 0, Cardiff City 1, Stoke City 0, Blackburn Rovers 1 and Wigan Athletic 1, Reading 0. Just to mention, we're heading west for the latest Off the Ball Roadshow in association with Heineken Rugby Club. On Wednesday the 11th of December, we're going to be in the Galmont Hotel in Galway with Connacht's Andy Friend, Tiernan O'Halloran and Galway's favourite son Cyril Farrell too. We'll be announcing some big names over the next few days, but you can get your tickets right now at offtheball.com/events. All thanks to Heineken Rugby Club. Visit drinkaware.ie and remember, this is an over 18s gig.
Things are looking up in Galway, John. We have a hurling manager, which is something that we haven't had from Limerick. If the hurlers get back next year, they must have every chance to win the All-Ireland. All of a sudden, Galway footballers will fancy their chance of doing something next year because Dublin don't have Jim Gavin anymore and we have a legend in charge. I actually think Galway footballers aren't a million miles off if they change their philosophy and get kind of truer to the Porrick Ice style of football rather than, you know, just Kevin Walsh, I think, didn't really know his style over the last few years, and what we had in the end was kind of
Finn style of football as well after Johnny.
Yeah, and then we have Galway United, who of course, you know, could be on the cusp of promotion next year, Shane.
Well, we've got another goal at the New White Hart Lane. Spurs, Bournemouth and Guy Spindles.
Spurs 3, Bournemouth 1. Substitute Harry Wilson could have got Bournemouth back into this one with an absolutely fabulous free kick from just outside the box, curling it left-footed via the underside of the bar and giving Paolo Gazzaniga no chance in the Spurs goal. Spurs 3, Bournemouth 1.
Let's take an update from Stamford Bridge. Chelsea against West Ham with Nigel Bidmead.
Chelsea 0, West Ham United 1, and the visitors thought they had gone 2-0 up in the 68th minute. Great work from Snodgrass on the right-hand side. Got his cross in, the defender ducked underneath it, it hit Antonio, hit the post, and then hit Antonio again and went in. But VAR determined that the initial contact that Antonio made was with his hand. Goal ruled out. Chelsea 0, West Ham 1.
Let's take another update from Anfield. This is Liverpool against Brighton with Shane Pennington.
It's Liverpool 2, Brighton 0, and chances in this second half for Brighton once again. Connolly with a turn and shot, forced a good save from Alisson, Liverpool goal. But at the other end, Oxlade-Chamberlain's 18-yard shot deflected inches wide at the right-hand post. Some substitutions to tell you about too. Mo Salah's been taken off maybe in preparation of Wednesday's Merseyside derby. He's been replaced by Adam Lallana, but he didn't look too pleased about it either. Whilst Alzate and Trossard have come on for Brighton, replacing Montoya and Basuma. It's Liverpool 2, Brighton 0.
Doesn't seem, lads, that Fabinho's absence has had a huge impact today. No, will it have an impact?
They're going to get away with it in games like that. I see Aaron Connolly's been taken off. But yeah, they'll get away with it. It was just the other night, though, when Napoli scored, and it kind of did suggest how brittle Liverpool's kind of hold on the table could be, when there was a really worrying moment when Van Dijk looked like he was in some discomfort, and it possibly was a foul actually, but it wasn't given. But if they do lose him, that would be a slight concern.
They've got a lot of very good players in that area of the field, but he seems to be the one, all right, that kind of gets the whole balance correct for them. And as you say, you know, if they've got any tougher games coming up, then that's when that could show a little bit more, all right. But look, I think the three that they have, even without him, is probably good enough to beat the vast majority of what's in the Premier League.
Yeah,
you know?
That's like, and in terms of people hoping that something might happen at the top of the table, whatever about Liverpool dropping the 12 points that they need to drop. Man City are in no shape whatsoever to actually build.
And the other teams are not advanced enough to take advantage of them.
Like Leicester have to play Liverpool at home.
Well, Leicester are the ones who look like seriously profiting now this weekend again as well, because it looks as though Chelsea are well on the way to being beaten here. Obviously, City have dropped points again. And, like, you're looking at a scenario now where Leicester, if they pick up a win tomorrow, or what, they're going to be 3 points clear of anybody behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a phenomenal performance from them.
He should have stayed at Celtic, though.
Liverpool bidding to equal their longest unbeaten run of 31 between May 1987 and March 1988. I remember that season well. That's when they lost to Wimbledon in the FA Cup final. They were great. It was a great Liverpool team.
It is fantastic for Liverpool, for the city, because and
for their long-suffering Irish fans, Johnny.
Absolutely, and they've had. I think they were chanting justice for the '96 today. It's a long time. All those Liverpool fans, from those days, from that tragic day in Hillsborough, and my brother got me into Liverpool when I was a kid. I've never seen them win the league, and the amount of love for the club at the moment in the city is, when you go over there, the city is absolutely buzzing for the football at the moment. And I mean, if they don't win it this year, they 100. I don't think they bottled it last year, but if they don't win it this year, they're
going to win it. I think they're going to win it. They've won. I think this will be their 14th win at home in the league in successively.
And they're not actually playing that well. Genuinely,
isn't that the whole hallmark of champions? How many leagues did Manchester United win by not playing well for the whole season?
They've gotten this shame. I don't know how you get this in a team, Shane, but they've gotten this ability to believe they're going to get a late goal even in games that things aren't necessarily going. The amount of goals they've scored in the last 15 minutes, I think
it's chicken and egg, isn't it? How do you get the belief? You get the belief by doing it, and how do you do it by having the belief? You know, but when you have a front three of the quality that they have, you can be tipping away without been playing superbly well, and the next thing one of them does something absolutely sublime for you and you're over the line before you know it. And in fairness, the back line is superb.
Well, there has been a red card at Anfield, Shane Pennington.
It's still Liverpool 2, Brighton 0, but Liverpool down to 10 men after Alisson has just received a straight red card for handballing outside the box. It was a long ball forward from Dunk. Neil Maupay broke the offside trap. He tried to lob it over the Liverpool goalkeeper, who duly stopped it with his hand outside the box, and he's received a straight red card from referee Martin Atkinson. It's Liverpool 2, Brighton 0.
Now, you're going to have to be a real die-hard football fan to be watching Southampton against Watford at half-5. We've got the team news from Alan Lewis.
One change for Southampton from last weekend's draw at Arsenal. Stuart Armstrong has a hamstring injury. He's replaced by Moussa Djenepo. Sofiane Boufal is fit enough for a place on the bench. Two changes for Watford. Adam Messina comes into defence in place of Craig Dawson. Ismaila Sarr replaces Andre Gray in attack for only his second Premier League start. From St Mary's, it's Southampton against Watford.
We have a goal at Anfield, Shane Pennington.
But it's Liverpool 2, Brighton 1, and Alisson's red card has really changed the game here, because from the resulting free kick, whilst his replacement Adrian was lining up his wall, Lewis Dunk, with a brilliant quick thinking, he just slotted the ball under the wall and into the left-hand bottom corner from 20 yards out. It's Liverpool 2, Brighton 1.
One of my most favourite Brian Kerrisms was when he said, Duncan Duffy sounds like a donut shop.
Yeah, this the goal. It's an absolutely bizarre goal, and Adrian will be, well, he won't be happy. And being honest, Liverpool could be a little bit vulnerable in the last 10 minutes.
What were we just saying? We were just saying, weren't we, that they're going to collapse. We always knew they'd collapse. They don't have the bottle.
Brendan Rodgers will be, if he's watching the scoreline, he'll be just thinking, this could be interesting.
We got to take a break, folks. Going to be back with the climax to this massive game at Anfield after this.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Listen back to your favourite News Talk shows at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
Quick, down your tools. We've added even more fantastic deals to the biggest Screwfix Black Friday event. Save over €10 on the DeWalt Axle safety boots, now €56.95. And save 15% on the Masterplug cable reel, now only €11.95. Visit screwfix.ie. But hurry, deals end Monday. Screwfix, here when you need us. While stocks last, visit screwfix.ie for T's and C's and delivery details. Prices valid until Monday, 2nd of December.
At Lexus, we have always anticipated the future, relentlessly pushing the boundaries of beautiful design and innovative technology, so you're ready for what's ahead. Introducing the new Lexus ES. Our executive saloon combines powerful, self-charging hybrid technology with an exceptional driving experience and the luxury that you expect from a Lexus. Test drive the new ES at your Lexus retailer and choose from a range of flexible payment options. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Happy Christmas! Release your inner elf December 28th and 29th at 3 Arena. Elf, a Christmas spectacular starring Kim Marsh and Sean Williamson. Tickets from €35 are on sale now. May be subject to fees. Presented by Aiken Promotions in association with the Irish Independent.
See how good TV can be with the world's best-selling OLED brand. LG OLED TVs now come with a 5-year warranty for extra peace of mind. For more information and a full demonstration, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
From Nick Cave's haunting Ghosteen to Lizzo's 'Cause I Love You, Sunday Times critics pick their favourite albums of 2019. Plus, don't miss our 52-page dish magazine, packed with Christmas recipes and great food ideas. Pick up your copy of the Sunday Times this weekend, or subscribe for €5 a month at thetimes.ie/join.
So, when we walked back in on Christmas Eve, there was this gorgeous spread. Oh, hot chocolate, mince pies, Christmas cake, spiced beef, and actual eggnog. Have you ever had eggnog? Oh, my.
Hayfield Manor. This is the year for your ultimate Christmas experience, encompassing 3 glorious days and nights of the best luxury accommodation, dining and entertainment. Call us in Cork or log on to Christmas at Hayfield Manor.
Have a cracking Christmas with Centra. We have great offers, like Centra Irish strip loin steak, half price now €11.49 per kilo. Selected Christmas biscuits, like Cadbury and Oreo assortment box, any 2 for €8. And Hornhead Sauvignon Blanc and Malbec wine, 2 for €15. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy, alcohol responsibly.
It's where you make it. There's no place like it. It's where the heart is. It's home. And if you're a landlord who rents out 1 or more homes, you must register your tenancies with the Residential Tenancies Board. It's the law. If you delay, you will be liable for late fees. You can register now, online at rtb.ie or by post. For more information, just visit rtb.ie.
Over the last number of years, AIB have been working to build a more sustainable business. We have invested in wind energy projects, launched a €5 billion climate action fund, signed a low-carbon pledge, and yet it's still not enough. We will keep telling ourselves that every day. AIB alone is not the solution to climate change, but we're doing everything we can to be a part of it. AIB, we pledge to do more. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All you need this Christmas is carry-out off licence. Make your money go further with our incredible deals on box beers, multi-pack cans and wines from all over the world. Plus our amazing Eastern European selection, such as the fantastic Perla beer range, now in stock. Fill your cupboard for less this festive season. Carry out off licence. Simply better wines and beers. Simply better value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
You're probably familiar with stickers and bags coming through your letterbox asking for donations of clothing and other items. The Charities Regulator are urging those who wish to give to a charitable organisation to check the Charities Register before donating. Legitimate charitable collections should clearly state the charity's name, contact details, logo and registered charity number. You can check the Charities Register at www.charitiesregulator.ie. Supported by An Garda Síochána.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
And you're very welcome back to the football show here on Off the Ball. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. John Duggan with you this Saturday and every Saturday in the company this afternoon of Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan. We've got a goal at Turf Moor. Burnley against Crystal Palace. Adam Jury.
Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 2, and Jeffrey Schlupp has surely wrapped up all 3 points for the visitors. It came about from an awful mistake from Ben Mee, who attempted a clearance but instead smashed the ball into his own face. It landed with Jeffrey Schlupp in the penalty area. He controlled the ball and he slotted it through the legs of Nick Pope, and it surely means all 3 points for the visitors. It's Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 2.
Adrian is having an absolute howler in Anfield. He is just hoping to get through the last 5 minutes, JD.
Because Alisson's been sent off.
He's dropped a ball there that it was the most it was just a completely routine save, and mentally he's just all over the shop. So he needs to get through the next sort of 5 minutes. Middlesbrough and Leeds. This is
4-0 Leeds.
4-0.
They're going to go top.
I don't know what the pre-season expectations were at Middlesbrough, but they weren't to be looking down their noses now, looking down at the teams under them. 3 teams, they're going to be in the relegation zone soon, the way Stoke are going. I would imagine Robbie Keane and Jonathan Woodgate are quaking in their boots a little bit.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
Steve Gibson's also somebody that generally acts in these situations. That red card could mean Caoimhin Kelleher might be on the bench for the derby, of course, on Wednesday.
Yeah, and on the Irish front as well, Obafemi starting for Spurs. We've two strikers.
For Southampton.
For Southampton. We've two young strikers who started today up front in the Premier League. And
Connolly and
that does not happen very often.
No, it doesn't.
We spoke about Troy Parrott, but these two are obviously a bit more advanced in terms of their development. And Obafemi, I see the manager made interesting quote. He did a few interesting. Yeah, he was like off the pitch, he needs to up his game, which I don't know what he's on about there, but he's obviously having a little bit of a pop at his general professionalism. But he should have scored last week against an insipid Arsenal team when basically the ball was overplayed to him and he had a tap in. But he's making good strides, Obafemi, if he can stay injury free.
Well, Screwfix's biggest ever Black Friday event is on from now until Monday the 2nd of December. We've been giving you the chance all afternoon on Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk to win a €300 Screwfix voucher by simply guessing who the scouse was. Complimenting our football guests. Play that clip, Pete.
3 top men in football.
That was, of course, Jamie Carragher complimenting
Knew the score.
Damien, Delaney, Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan here. Our winner this afternoon is Marion Keegan from Coolock in Dublin. Congrats to you, Marion. Well done.
On the Keegans.
On the Keegans. No relation, obviously.
Shane, you were going to make a very good point there.
Yeah, again, I know we were chatting about it last week, but like it's just phenomenal. Like for a country who have literally had one proper goal scorer in their history in Robbie Keane. The lineup.
Stapleton, John Aldridge, no?
What did they finish with?
Stapleton was a good player.
They weren't playing that many.
True, yeah, fair enough. Okay, we've had one player.
Friendlies.
We've had one man who has ever scored a lot of goals for the country, then I should say, rather than proper goal scorers. But I mean, at the moment, like, I know people were texting in earlier saying don't get carried away with Troy Parrott. I mean, I think we said last week that like Adam Ida would definitely strike me as being more ready at the moment.
100%.
We're getting carried away because
we are
getting so starved of success.
And we have such an embarrassment of it at the moment.
Starved
it's fantastic.
of talent. It's like, remember, like in every decade would be generally generation a Liam Brady or a Robbie Keane or a Damien Duff, and you could see them coming through. So even in like the fag end of Jack's era, you could see players coming through under Mick that you would be optimistic about. And then you can generally give a manager a bit of leeway in a couple of campaigns, 2 to 3 campaigns, because they still have hope. The problem with Irish football has been, at the Republic of Ireland level, it's the hopelessness that's been killing us.
Do you know hopelessness is a bad thing, John? But
I think the hope is returning because of what's coming through. But for a while with Trapattoni, with O'Neill, now O'Neill, to be fair, did have some good days. It's the hopelessness that's been killing us.
But it's quite sad when you think about it. Like we kind of celebrated the World Cup in 1990 because obviously it was our first major tournament, blah blah blah. But we didn't actually win a game in Italia 90, and we played horrendous football with good players. So for much of my life, anyway, Ireland have not been, for about 90% of my life, if not more, Ireland have not been good to watch. And that's how people see Irish football now. So like Denmark have all these jibes about how horrible we are to play against. It's true, but I don't want that to be. I don't want to be associated with a country that plays bog standard football. I didn't want to be associated with the way Ireland played in Cardiff to beat a Wales team with 20% of the ball. I want to be associated with the way Stephen Kenny's under-21s play, and I think that will translate to the national team. And I think we are in the process of a revolution in terms of Irish football, how it's going to be going forward, because the days of this put them under pressure and heart and physicality and, you know, fight until the end, they're gone.
Well, they are gone because you can't compete against, say, Belgium. No. You go to the Euros and Belgium just make mincemeat of you, which they did.
Well, I don't want to be bored to for the rest of my life watching Ireland.
And I think we have got quite lucky with the timing, because sometimes you can have a manager who wants to play an open style of football, but the players aren't there. Sometimes you can have players, and the argument is maybe we do have some players, but we haven't had managers of recent who want to play an open style of football. It looks as though we're quite possibly going to get the two at the same time.
Even watching Horan the other night, Shane, for Villa, and the way he dovetailed with Grealish.
I threw it up on Twitter,
absolutely, like he was involved. He scored one goal, set up the other. But you're watching this player, and I mean, we had
his passing stats the other night were 43 from 44.
Yeah. And like, remember, you sent me the stats from Tbilisi. He had, it was not Tbilisi, sorry, the Switzerland game. 27 passes in that game, and Xhaka had over 70.
Yeah.
Like, so Hourihan again, John, is probably the like guy that he needs Stephen Kenny to tell him he's brilliant, because he goes missing in Ireland games for some reason of some sort of diffidence that I can't really explain. But this lad can play. He's a gorgeous left foot.
He's also been through the ranks. You know, he's applied himself a bit like Damien Delaney earlier. Like, he's played in the lower leagues.
But when you start thinking of the Irish team of about 2 years from now, potentially, it's actually quite frightening how good we could be, genuinely.
Yeah.
Have you seen much of Hodge? Like, oh my God, he looks like been arguably the most complete centre midfielder we could ever have produced.
Malumbi is...
Now, he's a long way to go, and I'm sure the English might be looking to get their claws on him too, unfortunately, but he just looks superb.
Conor Ronan's performance in Sweden, if he can kick on from that.
We have Ken and Summerhill asking you what your big problem is with Celtic.
I've no problem with Celtic, apart from the fact that some of their fans seem to think Brendan Rodgers was mad to join Leicester. I mean, maybe look at the Premier League table.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We have had a goal at... I think we played that Turf Moor. We had the goal as Crystal Palace are 2-0 up. We already played that one. I can tell you that Liverpool's still 2-1 up on Brighton coming into the close of that match. So Liverpool's set to go...
That is over, John.
11 points clear.
That's a massive win, considering...
That is a massive win. Alisson being sent off in the second half.
I wouldn't have gone into the dressing room if I were Alisson if that second goal had gone in.
I was just going to say...
Alisson, Adrian,
looking at their upcoming fixtures, I'll tell you, home to Everton, away to Bournemouth, they're very lucky they have handy ones if Adrian's going to be in goal.
The draw is at 5 o'clock. What do the lads think of the new Euro setup? To me, this is all about money.
I don't like it at all.
Too much money, too many teams. Harder not to get into it than to get into
it. Quality diluted, everything diluted.
The only good thing about it is seeing teams like Iceland and smaller nations compete at the tournament. What they bring to the tournament, I think, is absolutely fantastic. But I mean, like, they give you so much of an opportunity. The fact that we shouldn't really have this second chance, to my mind, and also the fact that they're spreading the tournament around different countries, for me, I don't like that idea at all.
We've got a goal at the new White Hart Lane. Guy Swindles.
Spurs 3, Bournemouth 2, deep into time added on. Bournemouth just putting the pressure on a little bit. Good work by Grunwald down the left. Cross the ball into the unmarked Harry Wilson, and the substitute tucked home for his second goal of the game. Spurs cruising at 3-0. It's now Spurs 3, Bournemouth 2.
Assuming they do win this game, the fact that they've conceded 6 goals in his 3 games so far is a good thing, because it immediately puts the emphasis on, I need to sort this defence out.
This old boring Mourinho chant that used to go around is going to be null and void. We're averaging over 5 goals a game in the first 3.
The humble one. It's actually making me laugh inside. This Euro thing, this is just, to me, like the World Cup at 48 teams, the Euro at 24 teams, all about the revenue, all about the cash, and it dilutes the football until it's harder even not to get out of the group. It's difficult not to get out of the group at the Euros, and then you're into the last 16. And to me, it's just too much. It's too much saturation. We're just waiting for the full times to come in here. Liverpool have won 2-1. Like this, I think it's what now? 14 wins. It is, 14 wins.
Not impressive again. It's like
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't. It actually does matter, because it means they've found a way to.
We have full time, I can say, from Anfield with Shane Pennington.
Liverpool 2, Brighton 1. Jurgen Klopp's side extend their lead at the top to 11 points, but only after a real scare here at Anfield. It all looked easy when Virgil van Dijk headed 2 goals in the space of 6 first half minutes, but Brighton created chances all afternoon, but looked set to pay for not taking them. But with 14 minutes left, Alisson was sent off for handling outside the box, and as his replacement Adrian was lining up his wall, Lewis Dunk fired the resulting free kick home. Brighton then threw the kitchen sink at the hosts, but in the end it was to no avail. Liverpool 2, Brighton 1.
Name is on the trophy.
It should be. I think Van Dijk getting injured is literally the only thing that could possibly stop them. Interesting scenes here, Shane, in the end of the
we're just David Martin, the West Ham goalkeeper.
Yeah, he's gotten he's gotten hugs from all the players.
He's crying. He's actually crying.
He's crying, which would imply that, I don't know, has he had like some sort of personal tragedy or what's going on? But there's definitely a story there. I just don't know what it is.
We have the full time from that game. Chelsea West Ham. Nigel Bidmead.
Chelsea 0, West Ham 1. A first win for the Hammers at Stamford Bridge in 17 years came courtesy of Aaron Questrell's right-footed curling shot on 48. It was his third of the season and may well have spared his manager Manuel Pellegrini from the sack. 20 minutes later, West Ham had a second ruled out by VAR for handball. Chelsea had started the game brightly but ran out of ideas and went down to their second consecutive league defeat. Chelsea 0, West Ham United 1.
I don't actually know, John, if it's anything other than that they recognise what an unbelievable game he had.
And it was his debut.
Alvin Martin's son.
Alvin, I actually
Hammer legend.
I do remember Alvin Martin, yeah.
Full time from earlier on, we had Newcastle and Manchester City drawing 2-2. Southampton playing Watford, that's in the half-5 game. Just waiting on a couple of full times to come through here from the new White Hart Lane. And from also Turf Moor, I think we actually do have one of those. Yeah, we've got Tottenham against Bournemouth. Full time, Guy Swindles.
Spurs 3, Bournemouth 2. Cracking game. Spurs look to have wrapped things up in the 70th minute when they went 3-0 up. Dele Alli had scored the first two from long balls from Toby Alderweireld, but the third goal, an excellent one from Sissoko from Son's cross. But for the second week running, went 3-0 up, Spurs ran into trouble. Harry Wilson with two fine finishes, putting real pressure on, but Spurs hold on. Spurs 3, Bournemouth 2.
Now, the Championship as well. Leeds going to go top tonight, 4-0. They're leading Middlesbrough into stoppage time there. Your kind of wrap of the day, your kind of summation of the day, lads?
Good day for Liverpool, good day for Leicester. They're definitely the two that have really, really profited from it, that's for sure.
In the scale of 1 to screwed, Man City are high, and so I think is the Woodgate-Keane duo.
Jim Gavin stepping down after a 5 in a row after 7 years.
We didn't really talk about it earlier on, but Joe spoke very well about it because Gavin was a manager who treated the players with so much respect, delegated responsibility to them. Jim Gavin never told those Dublin players, you're not able to have a pint tonight. They just didn't have a pint tonight because they respected him for the way that he respected them, and his work off the pitch. He's an outstanding man. I know his interviews would bore you to tears, but who cares? In terms of the best football manager ever, John, I don't think you should underestimate, even at a time when Leinster is very, very weak, you shouldn't underestimate the achievement of one championship defeat in 7 years.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal record. One championship defeat in 7 years is absolutely incredible. He's really, really out there on his own in that respect. But I'll tell you, who comes in from there is going to be the interesting thing.
Jim Gavin, folks, is the greatest football manager, the greatest Gaelic Games manager we've ever seen. He's a step down today, and we wish him all the best here at Off the Ball. I personally do. Full times: Liverpool 2, Brighton 1, Spurs 3, Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 0, West Ham 1, Burnley 0, Palace 2, Newcastle 2, Manchester City 2. Don't forget Off the Ball back tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Joe Malloy in the chair. Joe joined by Tommy Martin for the pay-per-view. Also got 2 commentary games from the Premier League. Wolves playing Sheffield United at Molineux. Stephen Doyle and David Meyer will call that one. Dave McIntyre and Brian Kerr on duty for Manchester United's game against Aston Villa from Old Trafford. It's been a whirlwind. Thanks to Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan. Back tomorrow. Bye-bye.
With BruceBetting.com.